You're such a loot crate whore, Jay. You're such a loot crate whore.
It's not that.
This is the Imperial Scrolls of Honor podcast. I'm Josh Folan.
And I'm Jay Baxtron.
And we're going to be bullshitting about the formative years of console gaming as we revisit the periodicals that covered it again. We got ourselves into a little sports ball action for this game up, fishing our poorly kept Wilson baseball gloves out of the basement and playing some Tengen's RBI Baseball 2 for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Emulation disclosure, I went a hybrid route. I was still in the process of editing the last mag app when I jumped on eBay, so like essentially right away, and ordered the cart for this so I could play on OG hardware. I was that excited about it. So I did lots of that for one player after, like I did some emulation just fucking around to start. And then once I got the cart, I played it on my NES exclusively with through my NES satellite for fun. And then we also, we got a little Parsec PvP showdown as well. So lots of a range of consumption methods for this. Jay, how did you play when you and I weren't playing?
Yeah, I did the standard emulation through my PC with the USB standard NES controller through RetroArch, as usual.
Please rate and review the podcast, be part of the ISOH movement, and give us validation and self-worth on the podcast platform of choice if you like the shit that we're doing. What are we jamming on now? Jay, what are you jamming on right now? Some shit that's behind you, I assume. What is that? Age of Empires?
Fresh. Yes, sir. You already know. Age of Empires 3. I mean, have you played this game? So you're familiar with it? Yes?
No, I played I think we talked about this. I played I think it was the first one. It might have been two a long time ago. Late 90s probably was the last time I played Age of Empires. Yeah,
well, so this is a game, Courtney and I used to play it quite a bit when we were first engaged and getting married because, we had separate PCs and, at the time it was a new game. And so we loved it. We would play it a lot. And we really only stopped playing it when, my PC would die and I got one that didn't have a disk drive anymore. And, she moved to a Mac. And so we just kind of ended up getting an Xbox and just really going console and never really played it again. But knowing that Age of Empires 4 is coming out soon, in a couple months here, is super exciting. And so we've been playing them again now that we have PCs and everything. Zion has her own PC. We introduced her to it. So she's been playing on her PC and she loves it.
So y'all, you can play all on a net play thing, all of you against each other? That's super fucking fun. Yeah, that's cool.
And it's on Game Pass, 2 and 3. I think maybe even Age of Empires 1, they're all on Game Pass. So as long as you have that, we can play it. And it's been a blast, man. I forgot how much fun that is and how much I'm looking forward to Age 4. So
that's cool. I prefer the turn-based of Civ over the real-time thing, but
really,
I do remember enjoying it. Yeah. No, I need to be able to fucking strategy, man.
I'm I already go with my strategy. It's okay, I got to get villagers. I got to build houses first because I need the population so you can go farm. Need to build up the economy. I have a game plan set from the beginning.
Oh, so for sure. When I play Civ, I don't I avoid war just with all my being. I have zero interest in warfare. I want to build. All I do is I just want to build and I want to develop and I want to fucking, the wonders in particular. I want all the wonders. Culture victory is always my target goal when I'm playing Civ for the most part. And I'm just all about the getting all the things. I know, I've played it so much too. That's the worst part about Civ is that, you can, no matter how much they've improved each one, it gets to a point where you're just kind of the AI thing. You're just checking a box. You know what I mean? It gets away from the role play and what it should be in your head, and it gets you just thinking about the numbers. You know what I mean?
That's why Age 3 has answers to both of those, Josh. First of all, they have treaties. So I always put in a treaty because I want to build too, and I want to get to the highest civilization and build the wonders and things like that. So I'll put in a treaty. I like the war as well, but I want to push that off and like build
Oh,
up
you
my
can turn it off. So
civilization.
you can just
So
set the rules to
right, but like I like to just put in a treaty, so it's like you can't fight me for X amount of time, just so I can, we can both advance up to the point where you want to be
You're
before
saying in diplomacy, or that's just like
yeah,
an
in
in-game
diplomacy.
setting? Yeah, yeah, okay.
Yeah, you can
Yeah,
just
I mean, you can do that in
just
Civ
set
too, of
that.
course. I mean, yeah, they have very awesome diplomacy. That they've done a good job. That's one of the areas because that's so AI based, of course. Like
Yeah.
and it's still. I mean, there are still, the in Civ 6, the way early on in the like game timeline, you always get the French leader is always extra fixated on espionage and like warning you that people are doing shady shit around you via espionage. She always like will do the little thing where they just come talk to you and she says some shit about like, so there's so many layers to what's going on right now. You should open your eyes or some shit like that, like, and she's every game, like no matter what, she's telling me that. It's like, no, if I develop this shit out of my home, my homeland security to a point where it's not even possible, she's still saying that shit to me. So there's still things, there are things that just the AI is not perfect by any length, but it's come a long way for sure since when I first started playing Civ, to say the least.
Well, one of the other things I like about Age is like you can set a home civilization, and then there's different decks you can build. So you unlock like, I don't know, just these extra in-game improvements and things that just aren't there, to where it gives you an incentive to really keep playing that same civilization and like building them up and expanding and seeing what these new things you
Wait,
can
so
unlock.
you're not one like race or nationality or something?
You totally, you choose that every single time. So like I can choose to be like the Japanese because I like how their economy works with rice paddies and things like that and the shrines. But then, my home city is like the Portuguese in Lisbon because that's the one I'm building out like my further, like the deck. They call them decks. It's almost like, cards that you get. And the more that you do, the more that you win, the things you
So
it gives you
you're
an
such a
incentive to,
loot
like, have
crate
that
whore,
same
Jay.
win.
You're such a loot crate
It's
whore.
not that though. It's not that at all. It's just like improvements, like where you would have your artillery, is 20% more damage. Like you find something that like adds another 5% on top of that you can deploy if you choose it within the game once. Like it's just like a one-time thing. So it's things that get delivered to your home city that normally happen within the game anyway, but it gives you just an incentive to play that home city over and over, because in the background it like improves as you improve playing that as well. Like you started out, if I remember correctly, because I haven't done it in the recent playthrough, but like your city starts out like much more bare bones, like your background cinematic I'm talking about, when you're just like preparing, is this like bare bones city. But then as you build your deck, like more things, like the dock now is built with like concrete, and there's like ships in the dock now and things like that happen as you build it up. And it's really cool, like especially graphically to see, just even if it's just something that's like at the beginning of the game. I don't know, it seems so much more intricate than like other games that I've played, that I'm just like, yeah, I'm so hyped for Age 4 that Age 3 has been like a big thing for me.
For sure. No, yeah, like I said, it's been so long since I played that I can't even imagine the difference. Just fucking, the gameplay and the features. It's got to be just fucking insane how much has changed.
And then yeah, man, another game I've been playing that we actually beat, Space Jam: A New Legacy. I posted on the Facebook page like some diskettes. It was pretty great. But yeah, man, it's a lot of fun, like a side-scrolling beat 'em up, like a la Streets of Rage, typical of the '80s, with like a lot of callbacks to the '80s, and
Have you
looking for
watched Have you watched the movie yet? Did you take
I
the
have
kids
not
or no?
watched it
No.
yet.
I
It's
haven't either. Of course, I one of the I think it was the CAG cast, Cheap Ass Gamers podcast I listened to. They were talking about it. They usually they're really heavy on movies and TV and shit in their show, and they were talking about it. And I guess, I mean, I know nothing about the movie, but apparently the movie is much less. First of all, it's not in space, which makes it somewhat
really.
misleading. Yeah, and it's much more about like it's like about a video game. Like I think like LeBron's kid is like, I don't know, something. It's something to do with like a video game or video game development or some shit. And they were saying that like there's a video game in the movie. You know what I mean? Like there's a like it's a big part of the movie story is this one specific video game that's in the movie. And they were saying how stupid they thought it was that the video game companion, the game I think you're referencing here, is not that game. Like it's a completely different, nothing to do with the game. And I was like, yeah, that is dumb. Like, why would you not tie those things together? And I'm sure it's just a practicality thing. They probably, who knows, why they didn't. But that certainly would have been a much smarter marketing tool if it were the thing in the game
Yeah, well, me having no knowledge of the movie yet, it's a fun game, fun side-scrolling beat 'em up, calling back to the 80s, 90s, like why not? So,
are you playing as LeBron?
Yeah, you can. Well, you're playing as LeBron, Bugs, and I forgot Bonnie Bunny. I think as a female bunny character. I guess it's in the movie, and maybe somebody else. So like me, Zion, and Zeke are all playing together. So I was playing as LeBron, but yeah, you have a ball, you have a basketball, and you do moves with it. But it's definitely a side-scrolling fighter, So definitely not basketball at all. But they reference playing a game like at the end of the game. Spoiler alert! But yeah, it's
no wait, no sweat, Jam.
Yeah, so that, and then really just more Doom Eternal. Finally getting somewhere, making progress. Like it's so much fun again. Like I'm killing Hell Priests, unlocking fun skins and stuff, and yeah, I'm gonna keep playing that. So
I do have because you kill that Hell Priest like right is like like the tutorial level almost to start the game, and that was certainly I posted that cinematic they showed you like fuck that was cool. So yeah, I'm curious to see how, or I would be curious, I don't know if I'll ever get there, but I would be curious to see like those cinematics of him fucking just God knows what he does to the next Hell Priest. He like ripped the head off and like looked at it and threw it in the fire. Like that was so fucking cool.
That kind of stuff is so exciting to see throughout. Yeah, man, I'm sucked in. The graphics are great. The gameplay, like I'm finishing this game one way, no matter how long it takes me, for sure.
I like the sound of closure. Word. Anything else?
Nah, man, that's it. What about you? What are you jamming on?
Well, we talked about the Doom shit, so that was like the first thing I did when we got off last time. I headed over to Game Pass after I ordered my RBI baseball cart, anyways, and went to download Doom Eternal. And in doing so, I noticed that Fallout 76 was on Game Pass. And I have heard just like, I think everyone has, if you even like, and video game, like current gaming news, particularly the stuff about like companies and shit, I don't give a fuck. So I don't pay any attention to that stuff. If I'm not, even if I'm playing a game, like I just don't care about the industry side of it, And I still knew that Fallout 76 was like a fucking dumpster fire of of a release, of just like everything around it PR-wise was just like awful. Like no, like just everyone talking shit about it. So and like I'm not going to pay a subscription fee to play. I'm just not. Fuck you. I'm not playing that. I'm not going to do that to play a specific game. Go fuck yourself. So like there's just a million reasons why I hadn't even like thought about engaging Fallout 76 yet, despite having a reasonable affinity for the Fallout series.
Yep.
And so like it's on Game Pass though, totally free. I'll peep out some Fallout shit for totally free. Like, no matter how bad the buzz around it is. So I download this thing and I realized, I downloaded it and like it just, even though I should have known, it didn't occur to me. I downloaded it and I realized I needed a Bethesda.net sign in, So I'm like, oh, finally, motherfuckers, fine. You motherfuckers, fine. So I try to sign up with my email and it tells me I already had an account, which I have no inkling of whatsoever. So after like separate pain in the ass recovery processes of both my username and password, I realized that I must have made a burner account at some point, which I am absolutely certain of based on the username that the account had. Like I know that's a burner fucking account idea for sure. So yeah, I had a Bethesda burner account the whole time and didn't know it. So now I can play those games. Hip hip hooray. So that's out of the way in my life. But as far as the game goes, in Fallout 76, it's weird, man. Like you said, you have dabbled with it, yeah?
Yeah. I was one of the people who played it when it first came out and was disappointed because I was like, this is just like Fallout 4 but it's missing stuff. I don't understand. Like, it was just, yeah, I was disappointed because I paid full price. I was very excited.
Oh God, that's
yeah.
Yes, it's. I mean, you know, and this is just the next gen system thing, and I haven't played. I don't think. Yeah, I didn't play Fallout 4 in there yet, but I think I did play New Vegas. But that's of course not. That's just a half-ass remastering. You know, it's not even really updated for the new system. But anyways, it's fucking weird because it doesn't feel like the Fallout I know. It's too smooth. It's too glossy. It's too
really,
you know, like the literally the feel of it. Like Fallout, and maybe this is just the recency thing of having played New Vegas, which is, you know, a decade old, and it's just like kind of this shifty. I don't know, it's just, but it's so smooth and so. I don't know, it's fucking weird, man. Like, it's really hard to process based on the way that's my understanding of Fallout, you know? Because those Bethesda, even Skyrim is the same way. Like, as great as I think Skyrim is, it's such a big world and shit. You concede, and that's an old game too now, but like you concede so many things on the aesthetic, like the feel of it front, just because of how expansive the world is and how great the game is. All this, like a lot of the gameplay stuff is still clunky. There's bugs, and you just roll with that because, like, yeah, okay, well, that's how it is for a game like this right now, you know. But like the feel side of it, anyways, is not like that at all. It feels and looks fucking great. So that was, you know, immediate impression. I was like, fuck, this is fucking cool. So, and like the gameplay, I thought. I mean, you said you like Fallout 4. I thought Fallout 4 was pretty shitty in a lot of ways. I hated the base building stuff. I didn't have any like.
I love that.
I didn't like it all, and I usually like that kind of shit too. So that, you know, I don't know, whatever. But yeah, like I felt like it has fixed, or it did fix a lot of the things that I found wrong with Fallout. Like my inclination, like in Fallout 4, man, my inclination to craft, honestly, all the Fallout games to date, my inclination to craft anything other than major weapons and armor, and then I guess maybe eventually, I'm not even ammo, because you get to the point, most of those games, you get to the point where like ammo's everywhere. It's abundant. You don't even need to worry about it. Maybe I guess if you play at a harder level, that decreases. But I don't know. Just I've never really had any inclination to craft shit. And then that in turn makes the scavenging of crafting materials pointless too. If you don't want to craft, you don't need the materials. So like, so, you know, I just usually just blow by all those stupid little things that are fucking laying around in the rooms and the spaces you experience, you know, you go through, and just looking for essentially story plot points and quest items and shit. So like, but now that like, because everything, like they up the scarcity of everything, and you need those things to survive, and you know, you never have enough ammo in this game, and like you just you like you want, and you do need. I am inclined to build in this one. So like I need these materials now. So now all I do is scavenge. Like I'm like going around like I like, you know, I'll go to the data points in the story fucking things, but like I'm really just looking around for very specific things that I need to build the next thing or whatever, you know. And that, you know, that changes your level of just I don't know, fucking investment in this game, in this story world so much more, you know. So that's really cool. I've never cared what I looked like in these games, because you're just, you know, nothing but lackluster Bethesda AI around you, you know. So now that there's human beings in this world, like I immediately had like a slightly different willingness to like engage what I'm like trying to find new clothes. If I find something cool, like literally trying it on and looking at it, I'm like, no, because people are going to see it, you know. And like I've had, you know, you had those interactions. Like you literally, I mean, I have the thing, and this is one of the things I love about too, like, you know, I don't really want, I hate the online multiplayer thing usually, you know, and I've had those experiences too. So thankfully this is this way, but you can essentially nerf what other players can do to you. If you don't attack back, their attacks essentially don't do anything to you. You know what I mean? You can set it that way. So, and I certainly have had people just like, you know, you can see their level on the thing. They're like a level 157 or something, and they're just trying to lay waste to me. They're just running around behind me trying to fucking mow me down. It's like, fuck off. Yeah, you know, like, which is great that you can do that with someone who wants to play that way. It's like, fuck off. What do you even... If you do want to play that way where you are battling other players, why are you out fighting a level 8 dude? Like, what's the matter with you? You fucking asshole, you know? So that's exactly why I fucking hate online gaming. But you can turn that off. So, you know, but you had those moments too that are much cooler where, you know, you see someone and you because they have a little thing over, so you know when an actual PC, and also just the way people move, which is also one of my things with online gaming, is like you can just tell the way people move whether they're an NPC or not. It's like a little more erratic, you know. I think that's fucking stupid too. I hate that about online multiplayer. But anyways, you've had those interactions where you just like walk up to each other and you just kind of like look at each other, you know? And like I don't even have my microphone on. My microphone is turned off. Like I can't even talk to them if I wanted to. But fucking like you just look there, you're like looking at them and shit, and like kind of looking at their stuff and their gun and their clothes to see if there's anything you want to go find, you know? And then like you're of course like letting them look at you, you know, and that's like that is cool. Like that interaction is cool. And it's more incentivized here for obvious reasons because you're playing with players. And then it's automatically survival mode. So food and water are necessary, you know, and that, of course, I've never really played Fallout. That last time I played New Vegas, I turned that on and it changed that experience a little bit. But here it's like a huge thing, you know, and usually I never really have to even use my RadAway because I just don't do things that require me to take on radiation for the most part, you know, with the exception of maybe exploring a highly irradiated area. So like, but this, you know, just because to survive, you got to eat dumb shit that you don't want to eat, but like you have to just to stay alive. So like, that's so much more real and so much more like what living in that wasteland would be like. And that's, you know, just this little things like that make you really engage what the Fallout world is supposed to be more so than I ever have is a really, really cool betterment of the game, you know, that I really, really like about Fallout 76.
Man, that is so fascinating to me because I like again when this game came out, I had so many negative things to say about it. It just but like there was no quest. It was just like here you are, and there were so many things that were.
So that's the weirdest thing to me. Like I thought it would be more like that, and dude, it's just a Fallout game, man. It's just like a Fallout game with an endless supply of shit to do.
But
and I'm sure it wasn't I'm sure it was. Yeah,
no.
I'm sure it wasn't like that to begin with. Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, it was just like, what is this? Like, what did I? It was more like you looked around and you're like, what did I pay for? Like, what is this? But even since then, you know, I've seen them, you know, have iterative updates to where things change. And I can't remember. I think there was a Juggernaut update or some type of update that happened farther back, which I did jump back in.
What the hell is a Juggernaut? Is that industry lingo?
Dude,
Juggernaut
no, like
update?
that was the name of the update. Like it even said it, you know, like on the thing.
I thought that was just like what the industry calls like a very huge update, a Juggernaut update. What the fuck is
no. No, but like they fixed a bunch of stuff at that point, and that may have been when they added quests too and like more story points. But regardless, at that point, even Courtney tried to jump in, and we were both playing it together, trying to get back into it. But like I was using it more of like, hey, let's play something together. And there's some people I know from ESO that like still play it, and so I would like play in their world for a little bit. But like I enjoy that game, but I would like to play it with other people more. So like when other people weren't really sticking with it, I was like, I guess I'll just kind of let it fall to the wayside, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we haven't jumped in together, so you know, I don't have any firsthand knowledge of it, and you kind of described it like if I can't keep working on all my shit, like the things I have going, the quest lines, and just all the little incremental things that I'm trying to accomplish on a day-to-day basis. Like if I have to like set those aside to play multiplayer, like I have zero interest. Like
no. But that's the thing, you wouldn't have to. Like, for example, I jumped into other people's worlds usually. So like in Courtney's
but that sucks too that you have to doing yours.
But that was by agreement. Like I went into there and we like built something together. So whenever we log in together, we go into this one place where we have all this stuff and like this base that we had built. But like otherwise, like I have my own that I've built. I can just go into other people's and just play and quest together. So like I could jump into your game and like we could still do quests and do these other things.
Right,
I don't need to be building my own stuff.
But they wouldn't carry you. That's what I mean. They wouldn't carry over to your game. Like, why can't we play a game where both our home shit is living together at all times? You know
I mean, we could do that. Like my home stuff is technically in court.
Would we have to start there and stay there, or like?
I don't know. I actually don't know the details.
See, I know what I mean.
I know I can jump into yours now and build, but I don't know. Like, because again, it's been so long. I don't know. Maybe I could like say, hey, move my main whatever the thing is called, my main camp here.
Well, that's the cool thing. That's a really interesting thing about it, and you know, because your camp is just like no matter how crazy ass elaborate cool thing you build, there is this item, the camp, and it's an acronym for something. I can't remember what it is offhand. Some clever ass Fallout humor thing, and you can just pick that up. You don't actually need to pick it up. You can be somewhere else. And you just have to pay a cap tithe to plop it down somewhere else. And the base, as you build it wherever, now is here, you know? And that's it's a little unrealistic, of course, but I think it's cool, and it allows you some through line, because it would be a pain. Like one of the things about Subnautica, when you move your base, and like, am I going to take all these materials that I've dumped into this base iteration and move them down there, or I'm just going to start from scratch? And like neither is good. You know, neither is good. I mean, it's still fun and you still do it, but neither is good for your like time in life. The time you're gonna spend doing this. So it's cool. Like this Fallout 76 is already time consuming enough. So I think it's the right decision. But yeah, so you can put it anywhere. So like, I mean, I'm sure you could bring I know, like, I've found other players' bases before, like some really cool ones, and you can just go in and explore and just fuck with their shit, which is cool, you know. And you can't steal anything, which is also cool. That you can't fuck things up. That would be awful, I think. You probably can. There's probably a setting that allows you to do that and play a game like that, but I would fucking hate that. Anyways, what's that?
So who would want that?
Right. Well, you know, there's purists like that want, you know, whatever. Who cares? But I've been in like a house fucking around before, and then it's all of a sudden it's like it disappears, and I drop out onto the ground, and it's gone. And it's because the person who had plopped that house down there moved it and went to take it somewhere else, you know. And I was like, whoa, fucking, you know, so that you can absolutely just pick it and move it, do whatever you want with it whenever you want. And that, you know, that's kind of cool and interesting. So I can't see why you wouldn't be able to, because that's the most rooted thing. I mean, that is the only rooted thing. Everything else is just what you have on your person, and then what you've done in the world, what you've interacted with, what you've left set.
And now, and you know what? Now that you say that, I do specifically remember a time where me and Courtney were in the game, but also one or two people that we also knew were in the game as well. But like, we clearly weren't all like in each other's game. Like, I know me and Courtney would have been, but I was able to move my camp, like triangulate in the middle of everybody, so I was near everyone, you know. So apparently you can. I just don't remember all the details of how it works.
Yeah. I mean, it would be awesome to do that, but I would hate to have to stunt. I mean, I don't know, whatever. If you don't care, you don't care. But I would completely lose interest if I wasn't able to work again on those incremental things that I have going on while I'm hanging out with the person that I'm hanging out with, you know. That would be, but it would be fucking amazing to do that shit together, you know. That would be fucking incredible. So yeah, man, it's fucking weird, man. Like, I started homesteading, like I mentioned, like the crafting, the camp thing, and dude, the pictures that I have hanging on my walls, 1,000% matter to me. So that's Animal Crossing level shit, where you're like, everything, all this matters, you know. Yeah, you know, I got like, this is kind of brutish, but it happened, and I was like, I'm leaving it. You know, you can attract people to your camp, just like in 4, and you know, you do like a thing. Like, I found this woman who, I think she's a musician, and if you build her little chair with her guitar, she'll come live at your camp, you know. And she gets there, and she's hanging out, and she'll just do shit, and she plays music and stuff, and she'll fight if someone actually like tries to attack your base. So it's like kind of building your little army if you want. And I was like, you know, there's like an interact with option, you know. So I interact, and like, I'm just like seeing what the options are, and I accidentally, this is so brutish, probably gonna get flack for this, but I accidentally took her clothes, and then she's just naked in front of you, and just her underwear, and I was just like, I'm leaving it. So now she just walks around in my camp, just in her underwear, playing a guitar. It's like a funny hat.
It just stays like that.
Yeah, it's a chef. She's in a chef hat, and then just her underwear, and she walks around and plays her guitar.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, very brutish, but funny.
Definitely have not done anything like that.
That you could do that. Yeah, could you like the idea that's like someone comes to the camp and they're like, you know, I'm sure someone's come to my camp and looked at it at some point and been like, holy shit, you can do that. Yeah, whatever. But yeah, it's fucking cool, man. It's a fun game. The only downside I would say on it, to be honest with you, is, and this is what I've heard a lot of the problems with it, is, you know, you're playing on a fucking server, and it can time out, and it will, you know, you get a lot. It happens a lot where it'll say server something or other in the bottom right corner, and you just lose control of things for a second. And I've honestly never had that happen and like been getting capped the whole fucking time while it was getting its shit together. So I don't even know, honestly, if that can happen or not. If it like freezes enemies too, I'm not sure. But, you know, I would say 90 to 95% of the time, it will just do that for a second and revert, and you're back on your way, you know, and you know, the frequency of that, if you're playing for an hour, 2 or 3 times, maybe, you know, but it can also happen and it'll just boot you off, and you can 1,000% lose progress in interior, because interior spaces are weird the way they like what you've done registers in your cumulative gameplay. If you're in an actual interior space where, you know, you go in the door and it does that loading thing, because sometimes you can go interior spaces and that doesn't happen and it's just actually part of the outside world, you know, but sometimes you go into an interior space and it's the actual location and it's like a new level, or so there's some sort of difference
transition.
Right. And if you're in one of those, you will, when you come back into the game, you will not be inside of it anymore, and you can absolutely have lost what you did. Not always, but you can have lost progress. So to say the least, that is not cool, you know. So that sucks. I'm sure it was just incomprehensibly way worse at the launch of the game. So I'm sure it's improved considerably, because like I said, it's not anywhere near frequent enough where the whole internet could be on fire about it. So it does suck, but I'm sure they've improved that a great degree. So that's a good thing. But that's honestly the only detractor. And that's the kind of thing too, like we were just talking about with Skyrim and the older Fallouts, like, you know, what we're doing it's incredible what we're doing. And like, yes, you want it to be perfect, but like, got like a little bit of grain of salt with like, just, you know, like, fuck, that's not ideal, but this is pretty fucking cool, you know, like,
Exactly.
There's going to be, you know, a million fucking people playing this fucking massive game with a million things happening every nanosecond. Like every now and again, a wire's going to get crossed, you know, like I think you got to just fucking deal with that and not go completely apeshit about it. So
I'm sure things like that'll just like improve, you know, being part of the Microsoft family now, using Azure servers, like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
like,
yes,
I'm
give
sure
us your company man shit, Jay, about how it's
no, I'm just saying like how that stuff was worse. You know, you like playing on a server was just like more risky, whereas like now it seems to be improving, and you know, the technology behind that is improving as well. So that's cool to see.
Hopefully. So yeah, so there's that. Obviously was a most of what I'm doing, and then I also did, once I clicked on Fallout, download every Doom game ever. They're all on Game Pass. So 1, 2, 3, 64, and Eternal, and I've been fucking a little bit with all of them. This included Doom Eternal, so I did play. I told you I did get in and play the first level when I needed a break from Fallout for some reason. Maybe I got kicked from a server or something. I was pissed off, and I was like, I just need to do something else. And so I went and played. I played a little bit of Doom Eternal. Excuse me. And it's still, dude. It's just like 2016, and that is just so emotionally exhausting. I've just never, I just can't believe, like, I don't know, like, I mean, I'm sure other games are like that now, and I just don't play those types of games, so maybe it's not nearly as abnormal or unique as I think it is, but I don't know, man. Like, I play it and I'm just like, fuck, I just need to take a break, man. I like 20 minutes of this and I just got to stop and like literally hit pause and like clear the mechanism and just like fucking not do anything for a second, just cool off.
You know what's funny about that? I felt the exact same way at the beginning, and that's why I took such a long break. Like I thought I was I was barely at the beginning when I was like, I didn't play it for like so long after that. But I felt the same way. I was like, oh man, it's stressful like Doom 2016 was, which I played through. But like now, I don't know if it's just like I've zenned out and I've like figured out the way to play it where I don't have to be as like scatterbrain. Like, yes, you need to keep moving, but it's not as exhausting as it felt before. Like, I don't know. Like, maybe I just got more comfortable with it. I don't know. But I felt the same way at the beginning. So maybe you just need to clear the mechanism, take a break, come back in a week. Yeah. You know.
It is. Yeah, I mean, it is pretty damn good though. I mean, yeah, like I said, I posted that video of the Hell Priest thing, and like just that, you know, the first level it does do. Because what really I have a hard time with those games. The thing that I have this is the buttons. There's too many buttons. You got to do too fast, and like I don't have that capability, and that's frustrating. So like easing
you're old, Josh.
I think old right now? Old or yeah, perhaps maybe it is old. I don't know. The gradual internalization of what each one of these things you need to do on a semi-regular basis it's doing a pretty good job. Because like that's the thing too. Like a lot of these games, I think I talked about this with Outriders and stuff too. Like, you know, I'll get in there and you're doing the tutorial in the beginning of the game, and like I can't play these games every day. Like I can't play this kind of game every day. I just can't. It's something I'm gonna come in and out of, you know. And if I do that tutorial thing for an hour and some change, and then I come back a week later, it's gone. Like all that shit I learned is gone. And you're not gonna you saved your game, so you're not gonna be doing that exact tutorial part again. So like I have this gap in like what my knowledge base is and what I need to know to progress. And like that honestly is one of the biggest hindrances with playing games like this. A lot of the times it's just I don't have it's not intriguing enough to keep me entrenched in playing it long enough to retain all the shit that I need to get good at it, you know. And that is one of the harder things. And that's, you know, when I did fire Doom back up a second time, I was like, what the fuck, how do I do that? You know, and like it's just it's frustrating. But that's my own problem, of course. But that's, you know, that's gonna be my thing with Doom, I think.
Yeah, you really do have to come back like every couple of days or whatever so that you remember it, you know. Because even when I switch up between like that and Halo 5 just for like PvP aspect or something, like it's always like, I'm pressing the wrong button. But if I take too long of a break, it's the same thing. Like, all right, what is the controls again? But even once I know what they are, it takes me a while to like, okay, that's, you know, to get back into the rhythm of it.
Sure, exactly.
So
that's
really,
what I mean.
you really do have
you
to
cannot be thinking of that shit. A game like that, you cannot be thinking about what you're going to push. It needs to be instinct, you know.
Yeah.
And it's tough to get to that instinctual level. There's a certain amount of just time on task you have to devote in order to get there. And I have a hard time devoting that amount of time to a game like that. But it is good for sure. I will not even begin to argue that.
That was the victory theme, bringing us into this episode beginning about RBI Baseball 2. Josh.
Synopsis. They actually have a blurb on the first page of the manual with the heading Object of the Game / Game Description. So here goes that. Like I didn't anticipate to have a synopsis for a baseball game. Nonetheless, we have one. First, there was RBI Baseball. It set the standard as the only baseball game for the NES to use real players and their stats. Now there's RBI Baseball 2. Select one of the 26 pro teams and create any player lineup you want with 24 player rosters. It's like stepping into the shoes of a real pro with all his stats already under your belt. Feel your adrenaline pumping as you run to steal second base. Hear the roar of the crowd as you hit a home run. It just doesn't get any more real than this. And I would bet MLB The Show 2021 players might argue otherwise, but whatevs. So what kind of game is this, Jay?
Surprise! It's a baseball game of the American variety.
Is there an actual different, like, yes, like they have baseball in Japan, but like, is there any need to differentiate nationality? Like we were talking about football, we would say of the American variety, and there's a very, very real purpose for that. Is there a purpose in identifying the nationality of baseball, or is it universally the same?
I'm pretty sure it's the same. My purpose in calling it the American version was just because we're talking about American teams. That's all.
Sure. Yeah. This is a just a philosophical question I'm asking here. Anyways, it was released in 1990, and that's it. That's all I could find. As for happenings in 1990, a lot of shit happened over the course of an entire calendar year, and this section isn't any fun if the internet can't do better than this. So I don't have any happenings for the release of the game. We get into the artwork. We have the cover art is live action photography, and Mike Tyson's Punch-Out being the only other one of those we've game-epped. So that is a somewhat rare and unique thing, and makes it a little more interesting maybe than some of the others. So the picture is focused on home plate, and they've superimposed the MLB Players Association logo onto it, which is a cool design choice, I think. I like that. And there's a hand reaching into frame down the third base line from third, suggesting a player sliding into home, while a catcher's mitt is coming in from frame right with a ball thrown somewhere in the field of play, like about to land into it. So you have, we're essentially trying to capture a throw out at the plate kind of thing, and the catcher's mitt is coming in from a place that is absolutely not logical for where a catcher might be in this scenario. Yeah, exactly. In this scenario. And I just, knowing what I know about shit like this, commercials, photo shoots, and shit like that, and like I can just 1,000% picture the studio photo shoot where this pic was awkwardly taken, where you have these assistants trying to stick their arms into the thing and from funny angles, and the photographer's like, no, that's still not right, that's not right, that's not right, that's not right, that's right. And this is the one they're like, it's close enough, fuck it, just let's go. You know, because like it definitely is not right, but it's just the best they could do, you know. So
when I saw that, I immediately was thinking, where was the catcher? What was he doing before this? That he's way over there.
Right, yeah. Like maybe going to fetch a fucking but that's the thing though. Even if you are coming from some stupid shit, I don't know. I have no. Yeah, if the ball's coming from out there, there's no reason for the catcher to be coming from over like towards the dugout. But even if there was a reason for that, for the throw out at the plate, the catcher is going to position himself blocking the plate. Like that's what the catcher does in that situation. Now, I mean, I guess the one minute caveat to that idea is that he's not in a position. He's getting back to the plate just in time, and he just hasn't assumed that position yet. But it just, you know, an incomprehensibly low percentage number of times this scenario has ever happened in baseball at any level in the history of baseball.
You know, maybe he was somehow involved in like the previous out or something where he was off to the right, but he had to throw it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you know, if you sat down and really cooked, you could come up with some situations, but they are not by any means normal practice or a frequently occurring event, you know, which I don't know, you know, a photo was supposed, if you're going to bother to take a photo and use it for your key art, it should be a moment of significance of some kind, you know, that you're capturing. So sure. But it just, yeah, you can't be a person who watches baseball and look at this and really think about it, which I'm sure many people who bought the game didn't, particularly kids. But if you really sit and think about it and you know baseball, you're going to be like, wait a minute, that's fucking weird. You know, there's just no way to not get there. Anyway, they have a little disclaimer in the bottom right that this shit doesn't have anything to do with Nintendo, licensed by or endorsed by. That is likely part of the fallout of that legal tiff that Nintendo and Atari got into around this time. So that was notable to me. And generally speaking, though, even with that weirdness, I think it's awesome key art and well done, especially by Nintendo box standards. And the back of the box is much less impressive. The standard 3 screenshots and a very basic bitch layout on the right there. And they have a tagline up top that reads, if it gets more realistic, you'll need a glove to play. And then the selling points below that have little baseballs for bullet points. And I like that. I always love when bullet points are stylized, you know, in line with what the game's about. And the screenshots featured are the batting view, the fielding view, and the lineup management subscreen. So whatever. I was actually like trying to do the key art for this episode, and like there's not many different screenshots. You know, it's just like that base, because pitching and batting are the same thing, and then you have the scoreboard, and then you have, if you hit a home run or you hit whatever, you have the field, of course, wherever the ball goes, and then the win state with the newspaper thing. But that's it. There's just nothing else to look at for this game. So yeah, it was probably they're struggling to get to 3 interesting screenshots for sure. And the manual, which will be in the show notes, as it always is 32 pages. It's full color throughout, and Tengen, just like Sunsoft, is not fucking around the manual front there. If you get full color throughout, that's pretty hot. And page 2 is covering the game options here, and I see you can select easy or hard as CPU difficulty modes, which I would not have guessed that it had that option, you know, so I thought that was kind of interesting and cool. Page 5 presents the batting timeout menu options, and you can make substitutions on base runners, which is I'm pretty fucking sure a level of management that is not present in Bases Loaded 2. So that's a level of team control that is, I think, heightened for this era of baseball game. And page 6 has highlights that the game has instant replay, and we'll talk about this a bunch, I think, when we get into the gameplay and shit. Like, it seems just, I read that and I was like, what? Like, it was nuts to me that a 1990 NES baseball game would have replay, you know? So my expectation for it was so low, you know, that, again, we'll get into it, but I was pleasantly surprised. And pages 9 and 10 have tips, and I love this one in the pitching section. This is so good, dude. I can't believe I didn't bring it up when we couch co-op. That's such a couch co-op thing. But anyways, it's never talk to your opponent about the last pitch. If he knows what you think about it, that may help him on the next pitch. And this is clearly referencing playing head-to-head against a buddy and it's trying to give you a psychological edge while you do so.
Mm.
And there are few gaming scenarios funnier to me than two little ass kids playing against each other and engaging in psychological warfare. Like that is just that is great. You know, the idea of these two 7-year-old kids next to each other, like trying to gain a fucking psychological edge in a Nintendo game. Like that's fucking good. You know, that's what this shit's all about. So I really enjoyed that a great deal. And page 11 is an otherwise blank page and a small box in the middle that reads, note, rosters and stats for New York American League in parentheses are on page 27. And this is referring to the fact that this team's roster is not grouped in, and I couldn't figure out what it was, but whatever order the rest of the teams are supposed to be in, division maybe, I'm not sure. We kind of had this problem when you were trying to find fucking Cincinnati even on the screen. So yeah, it's not very cleanly organized in any way or labeled because they don't have the actual major league teams. They just have the major league cities, you know, because they don't have the MLB, the actual MLB license. They just have the player license. So anyways, it's not grouped in whatever order the rest of the teams are supposed to be in, and it's plunked very last in the list, right? And the other NY team in the National League, basically the Mets, is with all the others. So at first glance, this like really got under my fucking skin because it's the fucking Yankees, right? And it's
what's going on?
Those unfair payroll spending disparity enabled cunts. Like, why do they always get special treatment? Just because the rest of the league is too much of a bitch ass to stand up for themselves and require fair and equal revenue distribution so all teams can be competitive. Why are they always getting a unfair, like, why are they always just like special? You know, why are they always treated specially? And like I will not watch I'll try to make this the only time I do this. I will not watch a nanosecond of Major League Baseball again until that's the case. Until revenue is distributed evenly and all teams can actually compete, and it's not just 6 of them and then 26 assholes who are punching bags for the teams that can actually spend $200+ million every year. Like, I will never watch another fucking second of baseball again. Like that, the Francisco Lindor thing this past summer, that's the last straw. That the Indians can develop that all-world player, and he's playing like shit for the Mets too, which makes me happy. But that they can develop that all-world, can do everything player. He's fucking phenomenal at every phase of baseball. That they can develop him homegrown, and they can't keep him. They physically cannot. There's no way for them to pay him his market value. Fuck you. Like, you have a stupid fucking sport. Your sport is fucking stupid. If it's fucking stupid. I cannot believe that the other 26 owners are such pussies that they don't stand up and say, fuck you. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
You get to keep all the money that we collectively create just because you're in the TV market that you just happen to be in the geographical space where you make 10 times as much money. Like, fuck you. I cannot. It blows my fucking mind that they are that big of that 26 of them. Like, are that big? Like, wow, it's unbelievable. It fucking blows my mind. I cannot believe it.
The other sports do not operate that way.
No, you have that's why
in the NBA you got like max deal that you as the home team can offer more than the other teams can.
Right. And I mean, even basketball is not perfect. The luxury tax, you can spend over the luxury tax. So bigger market teams still have a little bit of advantage, but small market teams can compete at least.
Yeah.
And football is clean disparity. Like, every team is on the same playing field money wise. So there's a little, coaches aren't factored into salary cap. So, if you are a particularly wealthy owner relative to other owners, like you have 10 billion, they only have 1, like, in that scenario, you can pay your coach a little bit more theoretically, maybe than the others. But again, relatively equal playing field. Baseball it makes me sick to my stomach. I get like every year, like when the Indians were hot there around 2016 and shit, and like they're the fucking Cubs payroll in that the teams that when they went to the World Series together, the Cubs payroll was like $260 million or some shit, and the Indians payroll was just like 120. Like, they should cut. I mean, flat out, the Cubs runs every game against the Indians should get halved. Like, that's simple as that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you like. Why wouldn't they? Like, the fact that the Indians are even in the World Series against them, like, they should get a fucking trophy and a goddamn parade, because what are you even doing here? You do not have the same assets. You don't even kind of have the same thing. Like, how the fuck did you even get here, dude? Like, how did you get in the club? You don't have the money. You can't afford a bottle. How'd you get in the club? Like, what do you mean? What are you even doing here? You know, you don't have the shoes. Get the fuck out of here, bro. Like, yeah, Major League Baseball makes me sick to my fucking stomach. And the Yankees are fucking the just embodiment of it. So I saw this and all that stuff started rushing through my head. Anyhow, take it back a notch, Josh. I was as I was typing that up, that diatribe, it occurred to me that it makes more sense for this to be the flip side of that. And that whoever made this decision did it out of spite for the Yankees and just put them very last for no reason other than they had the power to do so in this particular case. And it's like the NBA Jam lead develop. Do you know this NBA Jam thing? The original NBA Jam for, I think it's Sega Genesis. Maybe.
Oh, yeah. Right. The Pistons thing, I think.
Right, exactly. Right. Yeah. So yeah, Mark Turmel, being a Pistons fan, programmed it so if the Bulls were playing the Pistons, which is the Pistons' biggest rival at the time, the early 90s, it's just like if they took a shot, the Bulls, I'm saying, in the final minute of the game, against the Pistons, they missed it every time. Like just like that very specific, a piece of code that very specifically does that. That's fucking just like the idea of expressing your unfounded and childish hatred for a certain sports team in that way, letting it manifest professionally like that, and something that is going to be, I mean, you don't know maybe that a game, well, I mean, actually, they were reporting from the arcade, it was already hit, so he knew he was making something that the whole world was going to experience in mass. Like, the idea of employing that in that is just like, oh, God, that is
ballsy next level.
It's ballsy, and it's just fucking incredible. It's just, it's so good. It's like, I don't know, man. I just can't think of a better sports thing. Like the idea of like exercising, because that's like the hardest part about being a sports fan is like your lack of power. That was like the hardest thing about being a Bills fan for all those years. It's like it's so emotionally debilitating when they're not even bad. They're just like just below competitive, and it's just like, so they're good enough to keep you invested emotionally, but not good enough to really get anywhere. And so you're there, and you have this like unreasonable passion for them to succeed, but you have no control over the actual outcome, and you trick yourself into thinking you do with all these dumbass little things that people's superstitions, and like you're going to the game and yelling a little louder, like whatever the fuck, you do all these things that you like trying to give your input on this thing you shouldn't care about, but you do an immense amount. And the idea of actually being able to like express yourself and have an impact on something, even something that dumb, is just so good.
That makes me think, like, I loved NCAA football when it was a game. Like, if I could have coded, like being a fan in the 90s of the Buckeyes and watching them lose to Michigan over and over when they were like right on the cusp of like winning it all year after year. Like, if I could have put in a freaking code that says I will always score a touchdown on Michigan, in the fourth quarter, or they can't score, like, I would absolutely do that. And
that they're going to miss their PAT every time. Playing Ohio State. They're going to miss their PAT in the fourth quarter every time.
There will be a fumble in the 20 every time. Just something. That would be great.
Yeah, it's just so beautiful. So beautiful. So, after that, it's just rosters, basically, is the rest of the manual. And, of course, the only one of those that I had any really, well, that's not true. I mean, all players at this time, again, because it was when I was really into baseball, probably at my height of that. So, players for a lot of teams were of interest, but the Tribe is, of course, of most particular interest, which just changed their name the other day, which was, if I cared about baseball, would have been interesting.
I was going to text you about it, too. I was
the Cleveland Guardians. Guy had to be done, I suppose, and which will soon become it's actually I didn't actually I wrote the note. That's a different. I wrote in the notes here, will soon become passe to refer to them as, like not knowing that it was going to come down before we fucking recorded. Anyways, I love the names on this roster: Brooke Jacoby, Greg Swindell, Cory Snyder, Joe Carter, Felix Fermin, Tom Candiotti, Doug Jones, Jesse Orozco. These are like just fucking names that just mean so much to me emotionally in my childhood. But Joe Carter, who was like he's like, he would just like now, just like we just talked about Lindor, he would go on and to do bigger things and have more success with other teams after he established himself as an elite player on the Indians, but this was right towards the end of his run with them. And, I think of him, I don't know, do you remember Joe Carter? Like, does that name anything to you? He was like he was a dinger guy. Like he was a guy that like was a, you know, he fucking bashed a lot of home runs, and his speed on here is 9. Like that's out of 10, you know, and that's the 3rd highest on the team. And I just do not think of him being a base stealer at all in my memory of him. And yeah, I mean, he had 35 dingers. Is his dinger total in 89. So I mean, he's a power outfielder, you know. And I go back and check his stats, and he actually did average 25-ish stolen bases in his 6 years with the Indians, you know. So I don't know. Pretty amazing. Yeah, he had one year where he finished top 20 in the MVP voting. 4 of the 5 of the 6 years he was with the Indians, he finished top 20. Which on the Indians, dude, they won like 11 games a year, bro. Like being in the MVP voting on the Indians in the 80s, holy shit, is that wild? You know, that is really, really an impressive feat.
Dude, it's so funny to hear you talk about the Indians right now, because like when we played, and we'll get to it later, I was playing the Yankees, but like at this time right now, like I was getting into the Yankees because of the, you know, Columbus Clippers, but I was a huge Cincinnati fan. So when I look at the roster, I'm like,
I was going to ask you.
Cleveland, dude, Cleveland was just like whatever. To me, I look at the roster and I know them all because I had all those cards. Freaking
Cincinnati.
Barry Larkin, Chris Sabo, like Jose Rio.
That's so good.
They had like, I remember that he had like an error on one of his cards, so I was like searching to try to find it. Like
Chris Sabo?
Yeah, like,
yes, I remember that.
Yeah, and so did Jose Rio. They both like they were in error. They both had errors, and I had like a special book. So when I look at this roster, I'm like, this takes me back immediately. I'm like, yes, let's go Reds.
Yeah. So yeah, I was going to ask you about Cincinnati because I knew that was your squad then. And so yeah, like I go there and I look at the roster, and the only one of the players I really knew was Barry Larkin, who I mean he had a killer fucking 342 average in 89. Yeah, he was fucking this awesome player. Shortstop, I believe, right? He was all-star shortstop, I think.
Shortstop. That sounds about right.
He's either second base or shortstop. He's definitely middle infielder. Anyways, the only other player literally that I recognize the name of at all was Chris Sabo. And like he clearly didn't become a great player because it's just like a obtuse little fucking random memory I have of his name. But I feel like he was, like in 89 and 88 when I was collecting cards and shit, he was a promising rookie. And he never panned out. Like, what do you like? I wanted to hear, like, what do you know what his story was? Like, why did he flame out? Or
I don't remember the details. I know I got his autograph, but I don't know. I've only been to one Reds game, like at the Reds Stadium in Cincinnati, since obviously I, grew up in Columbus. So I feel like at one point he somehow made it to the Clippers, and that's where I got his autograph. Because
went to the Yankees probably.
Yeah, it's so odd, but that's what I remember, because if I had people's autographs, it's because like they played for the Clippers, there were Reds players, obviously, maybe they would show up at like a comic book shop or something and be signing autographs. So I got some of them. Like I'm pretty sure I might have Barry Larkin's. I'm not sure. I got to find my old like book. I don't even know whose autograph I have, but yeah, I don't remember the details, but yeah, he was definitely like, oh, Chris Sabo, at the time for a little bit, but then.
Yeah, I remember it was definitely like I just remember it being his cards were a thing. I remember like wanting them. They were like, worth $4 instead of 75 cents or something. And like, as a kid, like with my little Beckett, I'm like fucking
exactly.
Yeah. It's not in this roster. Pete Rose. LOL. Right.
Oh, I had so many Pete Rose cards too. Such drama. It seemed like such an important drama. Like as a child, it was like,
I'm sure it's as a fucking Reds fan, that must have just. What do you mean, Pete Rose can't play baseball anymore? What do you fucking mean?
To this day, I have so many.
Like, I woke up today and they were like, Josh Allen can't play football anymore. Like, what? I'm gonna jump off the roof then. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean Josh Allen can't play football anymore? Like, we're gonna have to work something out. Like, it's not a viable option.
I mean, the Reds would go on, to win the World Series, like what, 91, 92, something like that. Because I remember watching it. So, it was still working out, but it was still like, a huge, huge eyesore on the franchise.
For sure. Any notable RBI Baseball 2 history, Jay?
Yeah. So funny. Like this game received so much rave reviews and from several outlets, both in the US and the UK. Like a lot of reviewers in the UK love this game. So, clearly a fan favorite because people really talked about the sim aspect, like, okay, it's an okay game, but like the whole sim and all the things you can do really, made it a game changer. But what I find really cool.
I'm surprised the UK that baseball, I didn't think baseball was a thing.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe they were just really enamored with the way the U.S. was playing. Maybe it was just bigger in the U.S. at the time. I don't know. But there were like 6 different outlets, all from the UK, talking about this game. So I was like, okay, what's going on? But like the series originally ran through 1995 and then was rebooted in 2014 as a direct competitor to MLB The Show. So clearly that game is the definitive game now. So
Right.
it's funny because when I was originally researching this, I thought that it said this was rebooted as MLB The Show. And
Like, holy shit! Right? Yeah.
That's been a game.
I was
that
very.
really,
I had no idea. I saw that when I was fucking like even just like tagged the game when I was posting videos and screenshots and shit. I was like, that's how I found out there was RBI baseball 2020 and shit. I was like, what the? I was like, what? I had no fucking clue. Yeah, it was completely unbeknownst to me. I'm not that I'm looking to play baseball games. Like I've already said what I said about sports games, baseball game in particular. I feel like baseball probably would actually be kind of fun because it's more calculated, you know. So I might actually enjoy that more. But I mean,
I actually want to play MLB The Show now because clearly it was a big get for us being on Xbox because it's a PlayStation game and all that. But like because of that, I directly have been holding off on playing MLB The Show because I didn't want to compare this game to that just internally because that's happened before. I've played like a recent kind of game and I'm like, oh, I can't even appreciate like the original. So, but at first thinking this was that, I'm like, oh, I definitely have to play it now. But I want to see how far that we've come, and play MLB The Show and see how that compares. But yeah, the fact that
I'm sure it's come quite a ways from this.
It sounds like people are generally underwhelmed. So like when I tie it all together, it's like this was rebooted to compete against that, and people are like, like the later ones, like this is not that. So clearly MLB The Show is like more fan.
Well, yeah, I mean the fact that we'd never heard of it, I mean, clearly if it would have landed in any serious way, we'd have, especially because of the nostalgia component of it, myself in particular, like that would have, if that even like graced the periphery of my radar, I'd been like, oh, RBI baseball, get the fuck out of here, you know. So that it can't be that good if it didn't even do that. But on the economic analysis front, we already did that baseball stadium hot dog math in the Fester's Quest ep, so I was kind of tapped out on relevant economic analysis as far as baseball goes. So we should probably just play the game. That is the second of, I think there's 3 game themes.
Yep.
Available in this, which is one of the cool parts about it that we'll get to, that they kind of switch up the music you hear while you're actually playing, as opposed to just the same tired ass song that like Bases Loaded. Oh, and like I've said before, that Bases Loaded 2, I can listen to that song nonstop, oddly, even though it's that like rally baseball song. Like I don't know what that song actually is, but it's someone wrote it. It's a famous song for sure, and they play it just nonstop all 9 innings, and it is such a fucking big development. Even if only 3, only even 2 more options is just like a world of difference in that variance. Anyways, let's talk about the title screen of RBI Baseball 2 to start. And you know what the worst part about Black Shell Tengen games are, Sid? Like the actual, I'm saying like the physical carts for NES, right? So when the cartridge is down in the Nintendo console, right? So you put the cartridge in, push the thing down, and it locks in the down position, right? The way these carts are designed, they have that little slope on the top of it, Yeah. So when it's down, not enough plastic sticks up to wiggle back and forth in your getting this damn thing to work efforts that every Nintendo game requires on startup, So like a normal cartridge it's like squared off, so you can push the little tops of it back and forth while it's still down to try to like jostle the connects and get the game to work. You just you turn it off, you push it to the left, you hit power. It doesn't work, or it's flashing or whatever, you turn it back off, you push it to the right, you just keep doing that until it works. That's usually what I do with a Nintendo game. These games, not enough plastic sticks up to do that. So if it doesn't work, you have to turn it off, pop the game back up, then push it over to the side, pop it back down, hit power, try again. And super stupid small thing, but that's the first thing, because I have to get the game to turn on and play it, that I experienced for Tengen OG style. And it was funny to me, like, to have that little moment of like, what a dumb thing to be frustrated about. But that's what gaming in this era was like. There's like dumb things like, deal with it, asshole. That's what it is, So yeah, so inefficient, but so funny to me also. So once I actually did get it fired up, a silent but deadly title sequence takes you through a bunch of shit on black cards, the title treatment, company and individual developer name credits, the MLB Players Association logo, and then they go through all 26 teams in the league, 2 at a time with the little sprites that kind of look like baseball players. And you actually got that thing up above that I had as my key art or my background for the last segment. So it goes through all that, all the teams, and then a demo does fire up, and it starts with the national anthem on the scoreboard, so like full fucking experience here. And they even show the lineup selection screen as part of the demo, just as if you were starting the game as a player. And I thought that was something that they probably should have skipped for the demo, like it doesn't make any sense, but whatever. And I don't know if it's the case every time or not. I have no idea. I didn't sit and watch the demo a single other time, but the first time I turned it on, the demo that they showed was Kansas City at Cleveland, and Greg Swindell took the mound for the mighty, mighty Indians. And I was just like, how prophetic. It was just, I know. And again, that's probably what happens every single time, and it's just random dumb luck. But to me, there was significance, and right. I enjoyed it, So you could
start. Did they somehow individualize that for you? I'm like,
yeah. Who knows? Who knows what who knows what kind of batteries? Who knows what's going on in those tiny little pathetic chips that are in that fucking game? Who knows? Could be magic. Who knows? You can start at any time to bring up the menu, and the options on that menu are 1-player, 2-player, watch, continue options. So yes, this is one of those sports games from this era where you can just sit and watch the computer play. And I have always found this absolutely fucking insane. The notion that anyone would ever do that, like ever.
Like who does that?
Right. It's always pitched, and they do it here in the manual too, as like a watch and learn tool to like. But you're not going to learn anything by watching this unless you genuinely don't know how baseball is played as a thing. And in that case, who the fuck is picking up this cartridge to play it that feels that way about that doesn't know? It's just crazy to me that this is ever. And this is like, they're just running a game where there's no input happening, so maybe the amount of code devoted to this particular feature is rather negligible in the overall, and it's not a big deal. But like space is usually a problem with these games. I just can't imagine you would waste even a byte or a bit or whatever the fuck the proper terminology would be in this case on this feature, because just why?
I would never ever choose that option. The only thing I can even fathom is they just thought people loved baseball so much that they might sit and just watch, like they would watch a game. Like that's the only thing I can even fathom.
If you wanted to do that, and granted, it's not the whole game. If you wanted to just sit and watch for a minute, you can let the demo play. And I don't know how long the demo is. I didn't let it run its full course, but I don't know. Maybe that's only a half. I have no idea. But just sitting here while you're talking, I was thinking like maybe they put that in there so the game could demo in a Toys R Us or something with a more sustained loop, I guess. But I don't know, man. It's like it blows my mind that's in there. Again, because space is at a premium. It's one thing if space is has no value, but in this economy, it does. So the continue function allows you to enter a 8-digit alphanumeric code to pick up where you left off in your season mode. And I am always very judgmental of poor password systems and commending of good ones, and this is a good one. There's no 0 in the character option set. It only has capital letters. There's no lowercase bullshit. So good fucking job, Tengen. No Metroid password bullshit here. Good job. And that's how, playing on Noji hardware. That's what I had that's how I was playing when I did my season thing. I had to snap a picture, and that's the last RBI picture in my phone is my password. And I got to turn it on and put in that password and pick the game up. There's no save stating going on. So it's important to me that that's not shitty.
I should hope you're not save stating on RBI baseball.
Yeah, that would be sad. That would be really sad. So we're talking 1-player shit here. So you select that, and you're presented with a team selection screen. Pretty simple shit. I picked the tribe, obviously. You pick your opponent too, even though this doubles as exhibition mode and the start of a season mode. You don't have like a separate, So that's kind of an interesting way to do it, And you can
that was confusing, man. Like that was so confusing because I played one game, and I was like 0-1, and then I played the next one because I'm like, clearly I need to do this more and get better at it. And then I noticed, then I was 1-1, and I was like, do I have a season going? Like, does it explain that somewhere?
It just added a
Yeah, it just kind of like
Oh,
kept
you just noticed it after you played the game. I thought you were saying they just added a game. I was like, what?
No, like meaning I didn't know that at first, and it was just
Right.
like, oh, okay, I guess I do have a season going,
Right. Yeah. There's no differentiation, which is fucking weird. And here's the really fucking weird. This is 1989. You're not playing interleague play. You just play. If you're American League, you only play American League teams. And real baseball, I'm saying. And here, when you do this, you can pick any team. So you can start with an interleague game. You can pick an interleague game to start. I tried starting with the Cubs once, and it didn't give me a password after the game.
Oh,
how interesting is that?
That's why.
So that's where it changes. And I have more shit to talk about this later too. Like that's like a logical, okay, like that's the way they do it. If you do that, if you fuck up the algorithm, then it just puts the kibosh on your season. But later on, some crazy shit happened that we'll get into that I don't want to spoil yet. That I don't know, man. The season I don't get. I want to talk to someone about what the rule set is because it doesn't. Like I said, I played like at least probably a dozen games, and I don't get what the system is at all. But anyways, I pick the Yankees most often because fuck the Yankees. So I start with the Yankees. And so you pick your teams and then you can fuck with your starting lineup if so desired on the screen after that. And initially I was pretty all set with the studs that manager Doc Edwards was the 1989 Indians manager, that he had them all set as, even though he would go on to get canned 19 games into the 1989 season. And, that's a whole conversation because of how bad they were. But it goes from there, cuts to the scoreboard shot for the national anthem, and then it's play fucking ball. And I noticed in G. Blair's soundtrack that they have the Canadian national anthem in the game soundtrack. So I'm guessing that plays. I'm guessing that plays at home for Canadian teams. And what kind of amazing is that for an NES game that it has that level of detail? And that will be a reoccurring theme here that I will talk about a lot. Like there is an attention, like you mentioned in some of the reviews, how like the simulation thing, like these little things like that, just NES games were not rocking with at the time. So like to pay attention to those things, to actually deliver on them, the game is really impressive in a lot of ways on that front, and that's really fucking cool. So yeah, that was like one of the first times where I was like, wow, I'm kind of blown away by that.
If I'd had an NES at this time with this game, I would have been, because this was at the height of my baseball card collecting, dude, I would have loved this. Like, yeah, probably would have been
with the players too. Oh, the only game with the actual players licenses. Yeah, man, fucking just all over it. Yep. So let's talk about the controls and HUD, and gets into the game starts right after that. So let's talk about the way the game plays. And it's like a baseball game on the NES. Not to be a prick, but they're all kind of the same. Like there's really not. If you played any NES baseball game, you know how to play this game for the most part. Yeah. There are some nuances, but I mean, batting A swings, and you can move around the batter's box anywhere you want. And obviously your ability to have coverage of the plate or swing at a ball that's, tight in on you is dependent on where that placement is, but it's just A to swing. And if there's a man on base, you can do the base running mechanics to steal with them if you want. And then when you're fielding, when the ball's in the air, you can move your dude around and you can dive or jump with the B button. And this is kind of like, it takes a little bit, even the manual says, it's like, it warns you, like it's the same button and you got to feel this out is kind of, I forget the exact wording verbatim, but it's kind of the way it's like, the ball's got to be a certain place and your player relative to it in order to enact the dive function, or you're just going to jump, so you really got to get the hang of when diving is appropriate, or you're just going to fuck your guy up and make him even further away from the ball by jumping and the ball rolls by. So that's a little bit of a learning curve, but I would say generally speaking, once you get there's no question in our game. I don't think I had any good fielding plays, but you had a couple that were replay worthy. Yeah. So, I mean, you can, and I had plenty of my one player stuff where you can do some dope ass fielding plays for sure with that dive button, and in the jump too on occasion. Sometimes you get fucked. Like I had one fly over my head that I jumped on against you too, like a bouncer too. Like it bounced over my head. Like that was like, what the fuck? The level of, I don't know, real physics, if that's how far you want to go with it, as far as that stuff goes, is pretty good, I think. So after you get the rock, B in the D-pad to the direction that you want, like the base you want to go, like right goes to first, up to second. B in that makes you run to the base, and then D-pad to the right and or to whatever direction the base you want to go, and A throws it there. So that is we talked about it a little bit in the two-player co-op too. Like that's like, it's only two buttons, but man, a lot of time on more than one occasion I blew a play because I froze up but I thought I could not remember in the moment which one did which. And there's nothing worse than when you want to run to the base, throw into the base, and no one's there. So you will definitely freeze up and blow the play that way instead ahead of, or more preferentially than blowing the play and throwing the ball into the dugout. So that's a funny thing about the controls. And who you control while the ball is in the air can definitely be wonky for sure and unpredictable, and it can fuck you if you're not careful. And I kind of feel like again, like I said when we were co-oping, like it can get to a dependable place once you have played the game enough and are just comfortable with it. So usually controlling 2 players, and like you just got to know what those are going to be, because like it may, like if a ball's flying, a fly ball to left field, you don't immediately know its trajectory, even though it does have the sound, or usually you have the sound cues. You didn't have the sound cues, but the trajectory of the ball is in line with the sound of it, like how far it is up in the air and how close it is to the ground, and the parabola of it is all like it has a sound cycle tied to it, which is fucking awesome. And honestly, Bases Loaded does this too, so that's not an entirely unique thing, but it's well done. So once you get used to that, know that you can get a better feel for this too. But anyways, the ball flies off the bat and like you're thinking like it could be a high pop, so you're controlling that shortstop, and then no, it's actually in the fucking outfield, so you're running your shortstop out, and then you realize halfway through the ball cycle that you should have been bringing your outfielder in, and the ball just drops in the middle of nowhere. So like until you really get the hang of that shit, it can be super frustrating. But
dude, that was my biggest thing that I hated about the controls. Everything else is great. That, like, clearly I made the mistake of throwing it to the wrong base if I'm like pressing in the middle of 2, because I was just that fingernail, whatever. But yeah, that control, like, obviously that's a limitation of the NES, and I would expect it, when I play a current generation game version like MLB or something, that, I'm bringing one player closer, I can switch easily, and bring the other outfielder in versus, or be being both at the same time. But yeah, that's, if you're moving, it's like you're moving them both in tandem, and it's like, oh, now I can't switch to. That happened to me so often. Like, that's so frustrating.
Once you are in control of the player that you want to be in control of, though, and you're just tracking the ball in the proper place with that player, I would say, I think the ball tracking mechanics are phenomenal in this game. Again, for the era, like Bases Loaded too, dude. Fucking outfield, fly ball control. It's just so bad, dude. It's so bad in that game. And like I said, that's a game I like, and it's still that bad. So like, yeah, I was wildly impressed with your ability to stay under a ball, properly track it, be in the right place. It's pretty well done, I think. And then we have pitching, of course, and A throws the pitch, and you can do things to it with a D-pad to change up how the pitch gets delivered. You can throw the ball 36 miles an hour if you want, if you know how to do that, which seems impossible to me that an MLB pitcher could do that, but whatever. And also B in the D-pad throws to a base for a cutoff play if there's a base runner there. And up while pitching is a sinker knuckleball deal. Left and right are curveballs of varying degrees depending on how much you use them. And down is a fastball down the pipe kind of thing. And no D-pad action, and you can just throw a mater over the plate if you so choose. And then I guess, if you just hold up, is that what you were saying was the slow pitch thing? Like I could not replicate it. I could not replicate it.
Dude, that was my favorite thing to do, but I would like not want to do it every time, So you would hold up, so you would throw that.
Well, variance is important, Jay. It's like the manual says, don't tell your buddy what you're gonna do on the last, or what you did on the last pitch.
Yeah, man, it's fun. It was so much fun to do that. So you would like throw it, and I know it's coming in slow, and then I'm directing it left or right. So it's like the most tricky pitch you could throw. And so yeah, it would always sometimes even hit the ground, like you're swinging at it and it's like going underneath you, and I'm moving it to the right. Like, yeah, that was so fun to do. Like a little hard, like physics wise, I'm like, how do you throw such a pitch? But in the game, it's fun.
Yeah, I mean, RBI baseball, we'll get into that later when we talk about this stuff. There is, the first one had it in spades. This one, it's a little bit watered down and in turn more challenging. But RBI to me has always been a little bit cheesable on the pitching front, because it is relative to Bases Loaded 2 in particular, it's a little bit watered down on the variance you can do. I mean, Bases Loaded 2, you can do crazy cool movement, and like just because of the way the pitching is over the shoulder from behind the pitcher, just the change in what you're trying to do is just, it's a completely different level of control, and in turn, things you can do with the pitch movement. So it's never been on that level, and this isn't particularly that much better than the first one, but there's certainly enough to have fun with it, and the computer, you can definitely get to a place with certain things where you can completely cheese it and give it no real opportunity to hit. But against a player, there's nothing you can do. In the first one, you could throw a pitch in the first one that was a strike and the fucking player couldn't hit, and I don't know, actually, maybe as players you could still get at it sometimes, but it's definitely not easy to do in this game against a human player. There's no easy out, so not that hitting's easy in this game, but
it is not easy, I would say.
Right. So getting into the actual play of the game, I already mentioned I love a bunch of different music cues throughout the game, and they're all fucking hot. My favorite is the third one. According to our main man, G. Belair's soundtrack listing anyways, it's number 3. And they also have one-word play-by-play voice samples, like strike ball, out, and so on and so forth, which is pretty cool. Like, anytime you got even remotely discernible voice samples in an NES game, like, good job. And it's weird how I feel like so many baseball games do it. It's like I don't know. It's disproportionately present in NES baseball games relative to other NES games, I guess is what I'm saying. Which is interesting to me, because the play ball, like Bases Loaded 2 has that shit too, and the First Bases Loaded has it, and I'm not sure if the first RBI does or not, but I just feel like it's in a lot of baseball games, and I guess maybe it's because they're such short and easily discernible instances of words, like I said, this out, ball, strike, whatever, but I don't know, it's so weird to me how prevalent it is in baseball games.
Well, I mean, think about like your experience. So like those are going to be key things you expect like from a baseball. Like
sure.
Every baseball game, you're going to hear that. Like different NFL stadiums, they're going to say different stuff. Like the basketball games, everything is different. But at a baseball game, you're going to hear that stuff. Like you expect to hear it at every game, pretty much.
Yeah, I guess just the commonality of it and the uniformity of it, perhaps. So I love, this is another nuance thing, attention to detail, dude. I love how some batters bob their bat a little, And not all of them either. Some of them, So it's like it's not just like everything, it's just there's just so much of that, just like fucking whatever. So yeah, they'll fucking, when you're moving around the batter's box waiting for the pitch, he'll fucking like wiggle his bat, and that's fucking awesome, man. It's such a great and impressive behavioral detail for an NES sports game that you're just not fucking getting, man. Just not fucking getting it this time. So it's the same with the pitcher checking the second base behind him occasionally. That like I didn't even notice when I was playing first one player. Maybe because I never let runners on base really. But when I'm playing one player, I mean. But because Tom Candiotti's a fucking animal. But yeah, when we were playing, I noticed that the pitcher will, I noticed that while a guy was on base, but we learned that he did do it even when no one was on base, which kind of sucks a little bit. But just the fact that it's there at all, that like he'll like turn around and give it a look before he throws the pitch. That's again just super fucking cool, man. Animation, that again, space at a premium. They just did not waste cart space on shit like that back then. So it's fucking awesome that they found a way to do it here. And still have the watch mode.
Right. Clearly Tengen was working something out on the disk space front.
Right. So yeah, the replay shit is wildly impressive for NES tier thing. Like it's so like I wouldn't say I ever saw one, even after I wrote this note after 2 games is when I made this determination, but there wasn't a single time where it did a replay that wasn't warranted. Like you would expect to have at least an occasional one that's like, that's fucking not replay worthy, but like it was always a dope ass fielding play, like a fucking double play or like a good dive and you're whipping the ball across. Yeah, that's the thing. It's not like, I'm not even sure how it could have metrics like that. Like, I mean, I guess maybe the dive and an
it's
out.
Gotta be like a dive and like a throw out within a certain
distance. Yeah, something. Yeah, but like it had the numbers down to where it was not shitty at all. It was really, really good, so.
You wanted to watch those replays. You're like, look at that.
For sure. Yeah. So yeah, I just really fucking impressive detail again, just over and over and over again. The first fucking like actual gameplay note I have is sidearm pitchers just as with Bases Loaded 2. And you hadn't seen one apparently because in our co-op game, you're like, what
No.
the fuck is that? So yeah, the Indians closer is Jesse Roscoe, he was pretty good. He was like, I think he was like a relatively frequent all-star and stuff. Maybe not for the Indians, but he played for a long time, as a lot of closers do. And yeah, he's got a sidearm delivery, and he strikes motherfuckers out, man, with that thing. It's so weird. Like, yeah, you can give your whole spiel, fucking, you know.
Such a cheese. It's such a. It's like he winds up differently.
Way different. Yeah, way different.
And it's like his arm goes off to the side, and you see it off to the side, and the next thing you see, he moves and the ball's like halfway down the field. Like you have less time to react. I can't even like that's the best I can explain. It's like a cheat. Like I don't understand these pitching style. Like I get trying to make it more authentic, but somehow it just comes off as like way harder to hit.
It's way harder. You know, I mean, that's it's got to be.
Like is that a real life thing? I don't know. I feel like that's
sidearm pitchers like that, and it's a fucking thing, dude. Like the Indians actually, the Guardians now have a player. This guy actually, he's not particularly good, and I hate him. He fucking blew when I was watching the few games I watched last year. He would definitely blow games all the time. Adam Simber, I want to say is his name, and he's got it's like, dude, it's fucking wild. Like I in real life when I watch pitchers like that throw, I just don't know how their body doesn't fall apart when they do it. Like it looks so painful the way, and it looks so bad for their knees and ankles, and like it just looks genuinely painful, man. But yeah, I mean, it goes without saying that doing that and throwing the ball like that, you're literally, that they call it submarine pitchers, because you're literally throwing the ball up. Its trajectory from its start point to the catcher's mitt is often higher, which goes without saying the physics of that. Yeah, that goes without saying the physics of that are crazy, So and crazy different than your traditional overhand pitcher or even side, So it's a relatively rare and unique and valuable commodity to have on your staff, because it is, again, pitching and batting is just all about the head game of it, and like any sort of nuanced difference in the way a pitch is coming at you, which is why, like, I love to hear your description of the difficulty it presents you, because that's exactly what it's supposed to be. Like, literally, the ball is coming from a different fucking place than the ball usually comes from when I do this activity. So like, that's exactly the difficulty.
I'm like, where's it coming from? Like, right. Yeah, it's so
that's exactly how you should feel. That's how it should, So it's funny to me how perfect that aligned. But yeah, that's why, I mean, and like, this, again, because the pitching system is so much simpler than Bases Loaded 2, and I can't help but compare these things constantly. And apologies if that bothers anyone listening to this, but in Bases Loaded 2, I mentioned we were co-op, and like the sidearm pitchers, like exactly what I said. Like when the fucking CPU puts one in, I just want to smash my controller on the ground. When I know their names, I played enough Bases Loaded 2. I know when they're putting those motherfuckers in, and like it makes me want to smash, because I know I'm not going to get a hit until that pitcher. Like the best thing you can do is just not swing at anything and take as many balls as you can to tire that guy out, so we can get the fuck out of there and get a guy in there that you can actually hit. Because you cannot, like, the ball goes in a place that you're below where your bat can swing. Because in Bases Loaded 2, you can only swing your bat in 9 different places. It's like up and left, up and right, down and right, down. There's like 9 frames where you can swing your bat. And the ball comes in between strike balls, comes in between the down and the hitting no direction space. It comes in here, and it's just like you sit there, you're like, you fucking, and like it's just Nintendo Pixel, like 1 or 2 of them, So you're like, every time you're like, no, I fucking hit that one, fuck you, and like occasionally, because you can move, the pitcher can move anywhere. Like the batter only has those 9 specific swing spots, but you can move the pitching movement range is anywhere. You can drop it anywhere. So like occasionally those fuckers will throw one that creeps up enough to get whacked. So like you can convince yourself that I should swing at this one, even though the smart thing is to just swing at nothing until that guy tires himself. So yeah, they're just, dude, they are so fucking frustrating in Bases Loaded 2, So it was also why I enjoyed your frustration, I suppose.
Dude, that's pretty much how it felt to me. Like without being able to see the squares, it's like I can't hit it. Like,
yeah. So speaking of pitching, as I mentioned, there is a substantial pitching cheese tactic that works almost 100% of the time in the first game. And it's pretty much just you line your pitcher all the way up to one side of the mound, and the batter needs to be batting from that same side. Like this doesn't work against righty lefty lefty righty. This doesn't work against, but righty righty lefty lefty it works against. I guess is the best way to say that. And so yeah, you just line your pitcher all the way up on that side of the mound as the batter is. If you pitch with that arm, and then you just do a fastball, basically just holding the 45-degree direction down and away from that side that you guys are both on. And you basically will throw a speedy curveball that crosses the plate and just nips the corner of the home plate, and the batter can't hit it. Like they either they don't or they can't when you're playing the computer. And you can literally just strike every motherfucker out.
What?
That if you're a right-handed pitcher, you can strike every right-handed batter out with that. Pretty much. I mean, every now and again, especially if you let your pitcher tire down, it gets your movement changes a little bit, and it won't go all the way as far across the plate. But if it's a fully full endurance pitcher, it'll fucking 1000% strike. And it's not nearly as fail proof in this, but the same idea is pretty effective against the computer. So, it took me, I don't know, 3 or 4 games because like I said, it's not the exact same. So like, especially if I really wanted an out, even in my first game, I was like, I'll try that. See if that works, check fucking fence test that. And like, it's that, yeah, it requires a little more nuance and a little less like just exact, you have to do like a little bit of like wait an extra second before you hit the movement so he doesn't start the curve immediately. Like there's a little bit of nuance to it, but it's pretty dependable. And Tom Candiotti specifically has incredible movement on his pitches. So like not every, and that's it's awesome. It makes sense. The players have stats, so of course this would be the case. Right. But like some pitchers have more movement than others, and Tom Candiotti has a fucking amazing breaking ball. So like it's just that fucking strike. I played games where I struck like fucking 23 batters out or some shit, and it's just literally the only ones who didn't strike out were the lefties. So yeah, it's an amazingly dependable thing that I learned pretty early on and employed whenever I could. Like it wouldn't work for every pitcher. And like, again, if you have like, I'll get into a story later where, a particularly right-handed heavy batting team is more susceptible than a team with a lot of lefties, so it was at times more effective than others. But did you find any cheeses that were really
not well only I don't know if it's a cheese, but kind of I could repeatedly throw a like curved knuckleball like slow and like
the sinker, the one that
swing.
Yeah. Those they bite on those a lot, but you tire your pitcher the fuck out with those. You can't use them a lot.
Yeah, I would just repeat, like, just do that over and over. And it would help me out because at first, like, I lost. Like, my first game, I definitely lost. And I was like, what is going on here? And, like, why is my pitching? But then I would learn, like, kind of like with you, I would just switch it up with these very slow curves and stuff. And
I'm surprised this worked.
The computer would just,
yeah, dude.
But I couldn't keep doing the same thing. That's the only thing. Like, I couldn't keep. There was nothing that I could just reliably, like, every time I'm going to do this every time. But when I absolutely needed to strike out, you better believe I was going to drop like a very slow, like knuckleball and curve it. Well, you shouldn't be swinging at all because it's unhittable, but he's going to swing because it looks,
right. Yeah,
and it would work pretty often.
Yeah, I was getting pissed off in our co-op play for sure. I'm readjusting my headphones just the way I was doing when we were playing. I get the same fucking agitated tick just happened while you were talking about it as we were playing. I was like, what the fuck? 36 mile an hour, like an MLB. MLB's like, if you threw an MLB player a 36 mile an hour pitch that was anywhere in the realm of hitability, it would land in fucking the next zip code. Yeah, you know what I mean? I was so frustrated.
Oh.
Anyways.
Unless you misjudge, which was the thing, because it almost seemed like a cheat, that I can like, I'm going to slow this down to the point where it's going to drop to the ground, but I'm going to curve it. So you think you can hit it, but I'm going to shimmy it like way off out of reality where it's clearly a ball, but you're going to swing,
NES game shit for sure. So yeah, hitting the ball on the rare occasion you do hit a dinger, which is not very seldom. I only do like, that's what I was fucking thrilled when I hit the one against you with Cory Snyder because Dude, I maybe 2 before that total, and all the games I had played on my own, so I just not hitting dingers, dude. So that was the pretty rare occasion for me, at least. I don't know if it was any more frequent for you, but when you do hit one, the distance of it in feet pops up on the screen as just as the ball clears the wall, and a celebratory little music ditty plays. Then the camera pans up to the blue sky, and a few sporadic fireworks pop off, and they of course show you the replay after every one of those. And some other nuanced stuff. They have a 7th inning stretch music ditty, specifically between the top and the bottom of the 7th. And again, just impeccable attention to detail in this game, to have that there and be present, because that is, even though, and I've heard the story of why it exists, but I can't think of it offhand. I wish I could just from memory say where that originates. It's definitely like this antiquated Americana thing that I can't think of right now off the top of my head. But it's without, it's just an integral part of the baseball experience, the 7th inning stretch, which to me, it's such a weird place for it. Like that's
why it's not the middle.
Exactly. It's not the middle. It's in the middle of an inning, which is, it's such a random, if you looked at it like an even number distribution, it's such a random data point in the whatever, so. Hitting. Let's talk about hitting. I am so fucking bad at hitting in baseball games, Jay. It's so bad. I should say, I am so bad at being patient in the batter's box. Like I swing, I said this in our co-op too, at everything like a total bitch, dude. Every pitch, I can't stop myself.
It's so hard. It's so hard not to, because you're playing baseball. Like, you're just defensive when you're a fielder. Like, this is your chance to score. Like, swing or you don't. So it's
that's just so the wrong mentality to take into baseball, though, which is so predicated on patience, And so because of that, because I swing at everything, I am hitting in this game in particular so many dribblers. It's either a dribbler or a pop fly.
Pop fly. Yep. So many pop flies.
Hold it. Well, you may run like Maze, but you hit like shit.
Were you getting a lot of dribblers?
Mostly pop flies, but yes, I got a good amount of those too.
The dribblers were where my offense came from, dude, because some of those dribblers, yes, they just dribble to a player and you're thrown out, whatever. But a lot of those dribblers for me would squeak through the infield somewhere. And when one of those really shitty dribblers squeaks by the infielder, it's just going to roll forever to the warning track, essentially. Like there's the friction physics in this game are not very, very restraining on the ball rolling. Yeah. So, every one of them that would get past the second baseman or the shortstop would just fucking roll to the track. I think I did one in our game too, but I probably had 3 or 4 inside the park home runs in my play, which is, crazy. Like I have a whole story later.
Did not get one on our game.
No, I did not. I'm pretty sure I got at least a triple. I got
a triple for sure.
Yeah, the number of triples I got in playing this game, like that's probably honestly, I probably had more triples than any other thing in the game. Like most of my offense would come from those dribblers, and they would always bring a triple was the minimum when that happened. So fucking really wild and weird thing, I thought, because that was not something that would happen to me like from the computer, and I don't feel like you had any either. So it must just be something dumb I do at the plate that causes it to happen.
It's got to be the way you're swinging, because I had a lot more pop-ups. Like my offense would be mostly doubles, I would say, where I'm able to hit it over the infielder's head, but then the outfielder's able to pick it up and I can only get the second. Like that for me would happen more often than anything else. But I'd probably hit like 4 or 5 homers overall. Still not a lot, but
it's like golf, dude. It was one of the reasons I can't play can't play golf is because I can't get the ball to. It's just straight, just wax straight. I cannot get any lift on the ball. So it's just like that to me. Like I'm not getting anything, no air play at all. It's all just like fucking roll off the damn thing. So getting to like my favorite part about this dribbler thing. So I realized it was like my 3rd or 4th game maybe that Joey fucking Bell is on my bench in this game. And if you know anything about sports from this era or baseball from this era, particularly the Indians, like that's Albert Bell. And Albert Bell would go on to become like a short-lived absolute dinger king. Like when the Indians got really hot there in the mid 90s, like 93, 94, 95, like 94, the strike shortened season, they won 100 games in the strike shortened season. They were fucking lit for a few years there in the early 90s. And Albert Bell was a big part of that. He was their fucking cleanup hitter, and that motherfucker was crushing 40 dingers every year. He was fucking probably on steroids, I'm sure, but especially knowing who he was and what he would become personality-wise, like I have zero doubt that he was on steroids. But anyways, he is in this game, and this is 89, so he's still pretty young. So he's still definitely Joey Bell at this time, because that was the thing. His name is Joey Bell. I think it's Albert is his middle name. And for some reason, at some point, he decided that he wanted to be called Albert Bell and not Joey Bell for fucking God knows what reason. Even though I know all these things about his story, I have no idea why he wanted the name changed or to be called differently. And it became a thing, like, because he was a little bit of a polarizing player to begin with. He had an attitude, and he's a dinger king. So, like, you know, other teams' fans hated him and whatever. And like, I'm pretty sure it was in Cleveland. It was some local kids that were calling him Joey one time, and he tried to fucking run him over with his fucking SUV or some shit. And it was like a big news story. And that was just because they were calling him Joey. They were literally just like a bunch of kids called Joey, Joey, Joey. He tried to fucking run him over. So super fucking weird response to a stupid thing that, you know, I don't know, whatever, super weird. But that, of course, made hecklers, once that happened and it became a big news story, of every stadium he went to, you have a whole stadium of people going, Joey, Joe, like the whole time he's fucking in the batter's box, and like just, you know, nonstop. He's out in the outfield. Everyone in the outfield is fucking calling him Joey, like, you know, and it was just a huge fucking thing. And wow, that's its own unique story. But I put him in and started trying to hit dingers with his ass. And I get to a story later where he was my first inside the park home run. Like, I think the first game I had him in, he has an inside the park home run. I'm like, and that's, again, he's a dinger king. He's like a little bit of a stocky dude. He's not a fast guy. So the fact that I got an inside the park home run with that dude is insane to me. Yes. Did you see, like, did you have any like glitch things? I have the one that we talked about already, and I'll mention here. But did you have any like weird glitches? Anything that you saw fucking playing the game?
I don't think so. Not on my end. Only when we were playing the 2-player. But like when I was playing 1-player, I don't think I really had anything like that happen. It's pretty smooth. Surprisingly.
So yeah, I just had the one that stood out to me most was that thing about the base running that I mentioned. So if you have a force out at second, and this is whether you're the base runner or not, it doesn't matter. It's more calculable and discernible because you're paying attention to your base runner in this case. But if you are running the first base line and you got a guy coming from first and there's a force out, and then that person throws to first in hopes of a double play, and in that case the batter is still running up the first base line to first base, right? The batter will always slide going into first when that pitch is happening, and you're not even sure, really. You can't tell because of what I'm about to describe, but you hear the slide has a specific sound. When a player is sliding, it makes this like sound, you know. So you hear that sound, so I'm assuming it's a slide. And when they get near the base pad, that sound will happen. And this is an every time thing too. It's not like just randomly that I noticed at one time. Every single time this little scenario plays out, you hear that sound, and then the batter will glitch onto the other side of the base, so in the first to second base line, and it'll be sliding back to first with like actual slide animation, you know. So like I don't know, like exactly. I mean, again, I mentioned it when we were co-oping, but like my guess is that there's just no slide animation in the game because they had to have that fucking watch mode. And so in turn, they just like the code just glitches to what is the normal slide animation on a cutoff play, you know, going back to first, you know, and just, instead of having the whole fucking game explode, it just does that, you know. And it's, every time I saw it, I just chuckled to myself how like NES that is, you know. Okay, so this is a crazy ass fucking story I got from my first 1-player experience. So we talked about how the team selection thing kind of gets wonky, and like, are you starting a season mode? We had that whole discussion. We were talking about the title screen and the game setup. So the first time I tried to continue, so I started in that instance against Texas, right? The Rangers. And so I lost a fucking heartbreaker on some bullshit in the bottom of the ninth in that game. So I was 0-1, and I turned the game back on to start it up from that. And it just, it just picks your next team. And the game pits me against the American League All-Star game in game 2. What the fuck, right? Which, yeah, we didn't mention that, but it does have the All-Star game teams, which is cool for the, for exhibition play. But clearly, what are you doing playing them in the season mode or in any regular, whatever? And so, like, it did that, but I didn't notice it, dude. Like, I played, because I'm just going. Like, again, like, the abbreviations are weird, so, like, you don't even necessarily process what team you're playing. And I was just, and I was trying to hit the fucking dingers. I'm just, let's go, So I wasn't even paying attention to who I was playing. And I got to probably the 5th inning, dude, before I started, like, looking at the player names, and I was like, it's like Ripken. I'm like, Cal Ripken. I'm like, okay, but, like, I'm not playing the Orioles. What's going on here? And the next batter, the next batter is Mark McGuire. Or I see McGuire, I'm like, that must be Mark. Like, what the fuck's going on here? And then Kirby Puckett too. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here, man? And like I noticed, I'm like, holy shit, I'm playing the fucking All-Star team. And at this juncture of the game, like I said, this is I think like the 5th inning. At this juncture of the game, my starting pitcher, Tom Cattiotti, had struck out 12 batters through 4 innings. So like damn near every batter I've struck out. And then this is my second game, and then that's when Joey fucking Bell got his inside the park home run off a dribbler that would roll all the way to the center field wall, and that is off the Nolan Ryan Express. Like fucking Nolan Ryan was pitching for them. I realized once that happened, and I'm like, yeah, like. And by the way, I would like to point out, I remembered that nickname off the top of my head. I did not have to look that up to know that he was called the Express, and I would like some level of acknowledgement of my knowledge of 1989 MLB baseball to remember that fucking nickname, because I feel like, I don't know, Nolan Ryan, while one of the best pitchers ever, is that still was not like a household Ohio boy piece of knowledge.
That is impressive.
Yeah.
That is impressive.
So I would go on to win that game 1-0, dude, against the American League All-Star team.
Nice.
My only fucking run being a Joey fucking Bell inside the park home run. And I had 4 hits in the whole game. The All-Star team had 2, and I had 21 thrown strikeouts in the fucking game against the fucking All-Star team, right? And I want you, Jay, to think about that series of events and understand how incredible it all is. Like, the All-Star team not knowing, fucking striking out all those players without even knowing. And, like, their entire lineup is all right-handers. I didn't, it's not, again, I did not.
Okay.
So like they had one left-handed player, and it is Harold Baines, who was an Expos player, which I vaguely remember his name. And he had both of their 2 hits because he was the only, literally the only lefty in their lineup, and he's the one that had 2 hits. So yeah, fucking
That's
just
crazy.
just an amazing fucking thing. At Tom Candiotti is righty, so all righty stuff, and you just fucking that cheese thing, like I said, pretty wild, man. It's a good thing there were no All-Stars on the '89 Cleveland Indians. Otherwise, this game could have never even occurred. Yeah, wow, though. I just couldn't fucking believe.
Crazy, man.
Yeah, I fucking love Nintendo and every pod. It's just so everything about that situation is just so Nintendo, and it can't happen anywhere else. And I fucking love it, man. I absolutely fucking love Nintendo. After these messages,
we'll be right back.
When you really want to get into the game, get Tengen RBI Baseball.
The only video game licensed by the Major League Baseball Players Association for your Nintendo.
It's you and the pros for Roger Clemens here. Flash Vince Coleman the steal sign.
Let Gibson swing for the fences. It's going, go!
RBI Baseball, the one the pros pitch.
That is an RBI Baseball 1 commercial. A kid fantasizing in his room about playing baseball with major leaguers. Reasonable choice for a baseball game commercial. And as far as the players they name in it, Roger Clemens, yes, superstar for decades, definitely at this time included. So, okay. Vince Coleman, never heard that name in my fucking life. So I was like, okay, let's find out why Vince Coleman's in this game. So I started looking up Vince Coleman. Vince Coleman is a left fielder that spent his first 6 seasons with the Cards, where he led the NL in steals every single fucking year. Years 1 through 3 were each over the hundo count. Dude,
What? No.
I did not know the significance of what I was reading when I first read it here, but I dove more into it, dude. Only 4 players have ever done that once. This dude did it 3 years in a row to start his career.
That seems impossible.
Right, precisely.
Are you you're stealing a base like most games?
It's
like you're stealing a base.
It's insane, dude. It's an absolute insane level
Wow.
of performance. So he is 6th all time in steals, playing only 13 years, and no one else in the top 10 played less than 17. So Ricky Henderson's at the top too, as you might imagine, but he played like fucking 47 years. He's also way ahead of everyone else, but he did play forever. So anyways, so this dude, Vince Coleman, so he started with the Cards 6 seasons, right? And then I'm like looking at his career path, trying to see like why don't I know this guy's name if he like is, and like stealing bases, like I said, Ricky Henderson was one of my favorite players. So like a base stealer of significance would have stood out to me as interesting and cool as a kid. So, and this, this is when I was watching. So he goes to the Mets in 91, right? And this was like a free agency deal. And like he made a lot of money at the time for a free agency deal. And basically once he goes to New York, he has drastically reduced games played counts for the last 7 years of his career. So that's weird. That's a strange thing. So like, I'm assuming, especially for a base runner, like injuries, right? That's like, that looks like an injury thing. That his injuries derailed his career and whatever. Not the case. The reasonings for this are fucking wild, dude. So this guy was a fucking asshole, dude. Like this guy is like next level fucking dickhead, bro. So the shit starts with, so he's named like right after he gets to New York. He's named as one of 3 players charged with sexual assault of a woman in Florida. And like that's terrible, but not to minimize the importance of the significance or like how horrible that is, but like that happens all the time. Like, sports players do dumb shit. They get into bad sexual situations. Some of it justified, some of it not, or not justified, but some of it true and some of it not. That's a wacky gray area, of course, but that's not terribly uncommon. So I read that. I'm like, oh, whatever. Like, that's not cool, but fucking okay. And then you start, dude, that's like the best thing that he is in this list by a mile. That's the best thing in a long list of fucked up shit, dude. So, okay. So then reports come out that he ignores coaches on the base paths. He just steals whenever the fuck he wants, however the fuck he wants, which is, probably how he got those 100. Like, he's like literally running whenever he wants. Like, I'm curious to know, and I guess there probably is stats out there for it, but like failed attempts, I'm curious what the ratio is, because it's by that kind of report, it's like probably much higher, and that, by the way, I would like to clarify, is not worse than sexual assault, but it is one of the shitty things. But he also, going from there into things that are actually bad, he outside of baseball, I mean, off the field. So he injures professional cokehead Dwight Gooden's arm by swinging a golf club recklessly in the clubhouse. He's just swinging a golf club and he hurts Dwight Gooden, who's like until his coke problem fucked his life up. He was like the dude. Was great. Yeah, he was fucking like unreal pitcher, dude. Him and Darryl Strawberry, that's like the whole thing. They were like champion cokeheads in the Mets and the whole deal in the 80s. But fucking, like that's insane that you hurt your star player in your team's fucking arm with a fucking golf club in the club. Like that is just unfucking real.
No way.
Huge dickhead. So here's the coup de grace of this, if that's the right pronunciation of that. He then throws a lit fucking firecracker into a crowd of autograph seekers in the Dodgers stadium parking lot, injuring 3 kids.
No. What?
True fact. Like confirmed report, not hearsay. He ends up doing a bunch of community service, gets suspended from the team, and he basically, he eventually gets ousted from New York. He bounces around a couple other teams, same kind of deal. Everyone fucking hates him, and he's out of the league by 13 years in, despite being just like this transcendent level talent. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like the Pete Rose endorsement on that one Sega game. It's like they just don't know what he's going to become, but they didn't know all this in 1989 when they put him in the fucking commercial, So it's funny to me that yeah. So the link to that commercial will be in the show notes if you want to give that a look. But that's who Vince Coleman is, also pretty fucking wild. So season mode. Oh, and by the way, Jay, before we get into this, that home run, does it look familiar to you?
That was me, yeah. I already knew. I was like, his head's covering it.
That's good. It's good that we've known each other long enough for me to be mildly predictable for you. That's good. So anyway, yeah, season mode. Yeah, how fucking wacky is it that you can play All Stars? Like, so what? Like, I just can't, like, we don't. I just don't even know. I can't even begin to guess how it actually goes. For, I mean, there's just no chance we're gonna do it for the pod. And I guess we could have probably Googled it, but like, do you play 162 games? Are you playing the fucking All Star teams all the time? Like, is there interleague play? And then, like, no, because they squashed that interleague play thing. But they clearly, like, how did they squash the interleague play thing? Yeah, but let you play, play All Star team. Like, what the fuck is the system there? And dude, it was just like my season kept going after that. Like, my season has continued. Like, it's just one of my wins, And I didn't play them again the next thing. I moved on to some other.
I wonder if like the All Star team is just like a one-time thing, and instead of being like after you've played maybe half your season or something. And then it just like randomly does it.
You're so forgiving. You're such a forgiving person with like these old games. Is like what should just be like, no, it's just insane. You're just like, oh well, here's what I'm thinking. But they could have had this. You're so forgiving. You're such a forgiving human being. Jay.
No, dude. I'm analyzing it. I'm like, what could have caused this to be a logical outcome?
I need the numbers to line up. I need to make sense of it. I can't just grasp the chaos.
Otherwise, it's just like, why? Everything, like, sometimes things happen in these old games and you're like, why? That makes no sense. And other times, like, there's got to be some logical reason for this to be like this. Like, kind of like how we were talking about with just the picture of this artwork and like why it's this weird way, and you can come up with like, yeah, that's exactly how that would go. That's what I'm doing.
And
like,
you gotta have an answer. It's funny.
Yeah.
I have I've self fucking analysis over the years. Getting older, you do a lot of that. Like, why did I do that? Why did I do that? Why did I change here? What's different about me then and from then to now? Thought a lot about it. Like, I was like a very, like, going into college, I remember being a very rigid, like, living, and I still am. Like, I want everything. I'm very organized, type A. I want my space to be clean, organized, and like, I don't want surfaces covered in things. Like, I'm very type A particular, right? But I remember going to college and we lived in Morrill Tower. And those are suites of 8 dudes, right? And like,
yeah.
Did you live in? Were you in the towers?
No, but
you were south.
Remember, I went to Ohio State like for the summer for my scholarship program, like 2 weeks from 7th grade until college. So I've stayed there. Yeah.
Okay, but it's different for kids,
even with a bunch of people. Like, we were like 17 at the time, so it was
sure, but still a short period of time, dude. Living in a suite of 7 dudes for a whole year, like,
yeah, that's all next level.
Dude, and I guess not everyone knows what fucking Morrill Tower is. So these were suites of 8 kids, and you had 4 bedrooms. Each bedroom had a little study room where 2 desks were in for the 2 kids in that one bedroom, and then you had a hub room, and off that was a bathroom with like 3 toilet stalls, 2 showers, 4 sinks, and then there was a living room common area where the exit to the whole suite was. And so we're in here with 7 strangers. You get put into the situation, and like, you don't know what you're gonna get. I got rock stars. I got 2 lacrosse players. I got 1 dude who was on drugs of all kinds all the time. 2 former baseball players that couldn't cut it at Ohio State, but still had the athlete jock thing going on with them. Another dude who was like just destined for fraternity life, and then me, and then I ended up actually having
destined for fraternity life
to some degree. I wasn't. I didn't join until my sophomore year, though. I didn't actually join my. But yes, eventually. Although I would say going into college, definitely not. Like, that was a very like conscious change in mentality towards it, which is why I didn't join my freshman year. Because I was like, I didn't want to pay for my friends, kind of thing. Anyways, my room, my actual guy in my room left after fall quarter because he just flaked on college. So I ended up having an empty room for much of the second half of the year. But the rest of us, it was just chaos, dude. And like, that common room got so filthy and disgusting, dude. Oh my God, it was inhabitable. I mean, it was genuinely inhabitable. And we would be sitting, because the cleaning people would come in like once or twice a week. Usually I remember the weekends it was often, and like it would always happen on like a Saturday morning. We went out Friday night and just got roasted till 4 a.m. Fucking drank 47 Heinekens or some shit, and fucking everyone is just like near dead in the dark because there's no windows in this room. So we're just in the dark watching the campus Buckeye TV, probably either Casino or Office Space were the 2 movies that were on the entire time, basically the entire year. We're watching one of those 2 movies. We're all fucking just like near death, and like the room is just broken bottles, pizza boxes, Papa John's. It's just the most disgusting environment ever. Beer cups, cigarette fucking butts, and them spilled sticky beer everywhere, empty cases, empty cans. We had stolen a trash can from the trash room, and just that's overflowing in our room, you know, like an industrial sized trash can.
Oh my gosh.
So they're just so disgusting, bro. So fucking disgusting. And I remember one time we're sitting there, and this is probably halfway through the year, we're sitting there and the door, because the cleaning people just had a key and they could just come in, you know, because obviously not, people aren't always there. So fucking the fucking cleaning person walks in, and like there's like 3 or 4 of us sitting there, and we just look over at them, and they like look at the room around us, and we're like, the one dude I'm with, Derek, he looks at the guy, he's like, you know what, guys, you don't have to come back here anymore. We're sorry. Just walk right on by from now on, and it's our problem, you know? And then they never came back. The clean people never came back. Like, that's how filthy it was. They were like, you're right. Okay, bye. You know? So, yeah. So, anyways, my whole point of this is I had to learn to teach myself. I taught myself that year to let go. And it's like, sometimes chaos ensues. Like, you can't control everything. You have to just accept shittiness and a chaos in the world around you, or you'll never be happy. So like, while I'm a type A organization, structure, answer-oriented individual, I can also go, fuck it. That's just how that is. You know? And that's how I was with that fucking living space. I was like, I can't control this. I would like it to be different, but there's no way I'm going to get these guys to adapt, and I just got to live with it. So I taught myself at age 19. I think I just turned 19. To live with chaos in the world, you know, which is a good thing, because I wouldn't be able to work in film the way I do without that, because film is chaos. Anyways, back to fucking RBI baseball. Yeah, I mean, the only thing I had season, it was just, you know, it is a bit repetitive, and other than the nuance of like not really understanding what the season mode system was, there is no change in. Like, I didn't see an increase. Granted, you probably wouldn't, even if there was, in difficulty or whatever. Like the way Super Tecmo Bowl, and I think Tecmo Bowl 2. I haven't played that one nearly as much, but Super Tecmo Bowl for sure. As you go through the season, it gets harder. No matter what the teams are, it's not like you're schedule based. It's just the game gets harder as the season goes on. You know, so maybe this has that. Although I have a theory later on that we'll talk about that I don't know. That we'll get into, where I kind of discovered something that surprised me about the difficulty stuff. But yeah, there just wasn't a ton. I mean, you said you only played like a half dozen games too, like.
Yeah, I probably played like 6 to 8 games, maybe a little more than that, but I didn't track it long enough to be able to say like, oh, it's getting, because I was getting better, you know, obviously as the more I played. So I went from like losing 10-1 to winning like 9-4, and then all of a sudden, you know, I'm doing better. So it's kind of
independently. Yeah, I got to, and the games I played, I got to the point where especially with that pitching cheese thing.
Oh, sure.
You know, yeah, I was still not wasting teams, but because batting is so fucking hard for me, but winning pretty reliably most of the time. I think I want to say I lost that first game, that nail biter in the 9th inning, like I mentioned, and then I think I've won every game since. So yeah, I mean, I got to that point where I was like, I was like, this is too easy. I should be losing every now and again, you know. So maybe I'll switch it over to hard and see how that goes. So, you know, I can't continue because you put in the code, you just go straight to the game, so you can't change that mid thing. So I'm going to start a whole new season. So I go back to the fucking menu thing, and I will go to the options thing, and the default mode is hard.
Really?
Yeah.
So, I was wondering about that, because when you mentioned it at the beginning, I'm like, I don't remember ever changing it. Yeah, so like, how much harder could it be than what I was playing, you know?
None. So yeah, imagine how easy is. I don't know, like, you know, like what is easy if you can win every time? It's kind of a bummer, you know. Yeah, and I mean, most NES games, sports games, you get to a place where because it is all just, can I figure out all the cheeses and like just how do I break the code, and you become reliably a winner. But you know, you still bases loaded for sure. Like I said, there's things that you just can't. Like the side art, there's things you just can't deal with. I lose bases loaded all the time, even though I've been playing it for fucking decades. Tecmo Bowl every now and again will pull some Tecmo shit on you, and fucking Bo Jackson or some shit for fucking 100 yards on the running backs are always way overpowered, you know. So like you can still get fucked every now and again. But this, like, by like 10 games into it, I'm just like, this is just predictably every time, you know. So I was kind of bummed out about that it did not have a more difficult level
Yeah,
than I've been
that's
playing.
kind of when I lost interest, and I was like, all right, not lost interest, like I don't like this game. Like I would definitely say this is a game I could just pick up and play. You know, the game is just short enough to where it's almost like I'm playing a couple PvP matches of Halo. You know, where in that same time frame where I'm gonna jump in, spend some time, I play the game. So not lose interest, but more of like, okay, I've got the game figured out, and I know how it's now reliably going. But when we play 2-player, that's when everything switches up, and I could
it's
totally
a completely
see the
different
draw.
game. Yeah, for sure. Completely different game. And, every sports game that way. Playing a human being is obviously better than playing 1989 Nintendo AI. Need to be said. So, yeah, for sure. So, yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the 2-player mode. Other than
that. Whatever, man. All of my home runs were longer than that. Whatever.
Yeah, I've hit so few of them. I was not at all. I mean, you could see my reaction real time. It's so good because it's so fucking truthful. Like I was not sure at all that was gonna be a home run until it said home run. And yeah, it just sneaked over the fucking over and just inside the foul pole too. Like in every way, it was this close to not being a home run. So yeah, it was fucking great. Yeah.
No, that was good because you were jacking some balls. Like if I couldn't put it too well placed on the plate at all because you were like nailing it. So I had no choice but to like drop sinkers and curveballs, or if I'm going fast, it's gotta be like, anytime I tried to like, okay, I'm gonna put it more over the plate just to vary things, you were hitting it, you were crushing it, even if it went foul. So I'm like,
that second game, the first one was a fucking pitching duel and a half. But the second game, I got a little, especially the beginning there, I got a little hot. Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, but like even the fielding, that was the funny thing for me. Your very first hit, like I had a great
that was fucked. You were like diving back and forth. Yeah. It was
and it's only because I'm hitting the controller. And that was my only down, like the only thing that I was frustrated about. I was like, if I'm instead of pressing it all the way to the right, I'm like a little bit in the middle and it throws it to home plate instead of first plate.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so frustrating.
Specificity is key, Jay. Specificity is key with input, with computer input. They don't like imprecise input. Yeah. So I had a fucking blast, man. I fucking love head-to-head NES stuff. It's just like, there's just like, I don't know, there's something about it's such a closed track of possibilities, like the number of variables of outcomes of input at the NES level is so much more restricted. So the psychological battle that you have with the human player is so much more of almost rock, paper, scissors, that you don't like. Whereas like if we were playing the show or whatever the fuck modern baseball game, like it's like such a nuanced thing that like you can get so much better at it. There's just so much more about it. Like NES games are just so narrow in the way they function that like head-to-head play is so much more of just like a very minute guessing game, that is something about it is really enjoyable for me. So yeah, I love playing these games on NES.
It really is. Like when you think about it, there was so much thought in my mind where it was like, okay, I'm getting him with these like left curving sinkers, but I can't keep doing it or he'll like get good at it. So but then it was like, I got to go more over the plate, but I don't want to because, it's like this constant, like, all right, well, how do I, where am I going next? Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's so much fun for sure. Yeah. So yeah, the pitching cheese thing definitely doesn't work against human players. So we said that already, but it should be reiterated here. You definitely have to, you have to game the person. And yeah, that's just so fucking fun in a game like this. And yeah, those 36 to 50 mile an hour pitches you were throwing were so fucking frustrating, man.
Dude, that was great. But it was fun because it was working. But then the minute I would try to throw a fastball and it's like 66, 65, and I'm like, fuck. So then I like obviously sub him out, bring in a new pitcher, and immediately like 100 miles an hour. Like, whoa, like that type of, even just switching it up, like I just need some more speed because he's starting to like crank the balls now. Whereas before you were getting struck out, now you're making contact. It's getting a little too close for comfort,
Yeah, which is, and again, the simulation thing like that, that's how baseball works, man. The fucking
that's how it should work for sure. Yeah.
Pitcher endurance is such a big part of just the strategy of baseball. Properly managing that is such a big part of baseball strategy that it's cool to get it properly in any way, shape, or form into a rigid old video game like this. It's a good job. So, yeah, we played 2 games. Jay playing as the hated and overprivileged prick New York Yankees, myself as the Tribe, as you might have guessed. And game 1 pitted, yes, aces Tom Candiotti and Andy Hawkins was the Yankees ace, I guess, in a pitching duel featuring 32 total strikeouts between us. So we both were fucking dealing. we were dealing on the pitch in front of that game, that first one. And I ended up coming out on top 2-0. One of those runs came in the first when you were still getting your sea legs under you, so I'll grant you that. The other one I think was relatively valid in like the 4th or something. No, yeah. So that was the first game, and then game 2 was a little less close. And I hit the 360-foot two-run Cory Snyder dinger that just eked its way over the foul inside the foul pole and over the left field wall. It blew the game wide open in the top of the first, and I'd go on to win that one 5-2 to take the series. So that was our head-to-head play as far as the actual outcome goes. I played it a little more, so, and also have I think probably more RBI experience in general coming into it. So yeah, so you don't have to think. You don't have to think less of yourself, Jay. Don't even sweat it, bro.
Dude, I still don't remember.
We can play Double Dragon 2 if you want to.
That's a funny thing. I was like, I sadly saw this coming. Like somehow, because again, I got used to the game, and I'm like, somehow he's gonna get like focused and like beat me. Like I saw this coming, so I'm not surprised at all. But like I still don't remember what NES game I played when I was a kid, since they all have like the same directional situation generally. I'm like, what did I play? It wasn't this game. Like it definitely wasn't sim heavy like this. It was definitely more simple, and I still can't figure it out. One of these days I will, but this is better than
it. Wasn't MLB baseball, was it? Have you fired that up, the shitty LJN one? It's so bad.
I haven't.
I hope not.
Yeah, it was very. I feel like it was more basic than this for sure. But
well, MLB baseball is
it may have been.
Yeah,
it may have been.
It's a pretty shitty game. So I'd hate to hear that your childhood was fucking. Well, I don't know what. Marred by that game. It's a really bad baseball game.
That was game theme 1, bringing us into our favorite section, the verdict, where King Lorik bestows or does not bestow
his blessing. I mean, I think it's the best baseball game on the NES that I've played. You? It's fun. Like I said, I would add it to our games with playing list. I think it's there. We did add it. We did already add it. What I'm saying, we had the whole discussion of whether or not to fucking. But that wasn't after the whole idea of this. These are not cursory analyses. That list is about cursory decisions on whether or not it's just fun to pick up and play. This is a decision as to whether or not someone would want to buy it, invest a substantial amount of time in it, recommend it to others, which is what we're kind of doing here, So yeah, it's a little heavier of a decision we're making than that list, I think. And I would definitely say that, yeah, I mean, if you enjoy baseball games at all, it would be really hard, particularly the head-to-head, because of, again, the nuance of it. Like we mentioned, it gets a little easy on the one-player front, I think, after not long, and that's kind of disappointing because, I mean, as I said, I've been playing Bases Loaded 2 for 30 years, and I'm still get pissed off playing that game. But also if you do the simple thing of just not letting yourself cheese on the pitching front, if you actually throw varied pitches and not do that, then this game probably would be infinitely harder. So.
And that's what I did, and yeah, so I'm constantly in my head thinking like, what am I doing next? What's the game plan? Because even the computer would seemingly adjust to those things sometimes. So I have nothing. I really don't have anything bad to say about it, honestly.
Yeah, me either. Yeah, I mean, there's some NES shit here and there, but like, again, within the spectrum of NES shit, like, there's just no downsides to it, really, baseball wise.
It's funny too, because looking at the manual at first, the manual is so big compared to what we see, and so I was originally
those stats, stats.
That's what I found. But at first, I was originally like, oh my gosh, like, is this going to be so much to deal with? Like, I don't even know. My eyes are glazing over, but. Like in practice, it's not that way. and
No,
it's
there's
easy.
There's 11 pages of actual how to play this game in the 32. So yeah, it's 10 pages of learning and 20 pages of depth or like team management depth. You know what I mean? To deal with. So I mean that's a pretty good. That's honestly that's a good description of the ratio of like what the gameplay is, because the simulation aspects of it are, like you read in the reviews and stuff, like a big part of what makes this game differentiated from many of the others, and that's a good, you don't need to engage that if you don't want to. You can just fire it up and go, also, which is a good, that's a good balance that you would like to see, particularly out of a sports game. That, yes, you want to have those options. Do I want to play franchise mode? Sure, on my own, but I also want to just be able to pick it up with a buddy and just have a fucking blast and turn it off and not think about any of the dumb shit in between those two times, So, yeah, man, it's fucking. I don't even know how I would. Someone trying to formulate an argument against giving it the blessing, I would love to hear that, because I can't even imagine where you would start to get a foothold. Yeah.
It's like we started playing this episode. Like whenever we approach these single game episodes, where we're focusing on one game and evaluating it, oftentimes when I sit down to play it for the first time, it's like, all right, let me really prepare. Let me get my notes ready. Let me get, ready to get into it and experience it for the first time. Whereas this, like, I turned it on and just played, and then I was able to just come back and play again. And I was like, okay, like it was just very easy to immerse yourself into and not feel like you have to like really get invested. Sure. Whereas a lot of games now, you're like, all right, how long do I have to learn this game? Do I need like 2 hours like to really learn it? Whereas this, I was like in it and it was good.
Immediately. Yeah, and I mentioned that in our chat throughout the week. How it's like, it's just not that this has any bearing on someone's fucking whatever the purpose of King Lorik's Blessing. Clearly, not everyone's podcasting about this game, but yeah, like I forgot, so it's Blades of Steel is the only other sports one we've done like this, and I just love how, it's not, usually I have to sit at my computer and I'm taking notes every fucking 2 seconds. With this, I'm just like sitting over on my couch playing the game, and like every now and again something will happen. I'm like, hit start, get up, walk over to my computer and like make a note, and then go back and just keep playing. It's just like, it's a very different process on that front for us, I think, and that it's a really fun and freeing experience relative to some of the more intense, like Fester's Quest is like every fucking enemy, got to talk about that enemy, got to talk about fucking that boss, got to like figure out the strategy that I did and make sure I fucking recount it all and like have something to talk about that topic. Like this is just like baseball, and like you're writing down anecdotes, so.
And the controls are pretty intuitive, like except for the controlling multiple people thing, which even then you still
Baseline. Apparently, we never brought it up. We never brought up the baseline. Apparently, you just I can't believe to mention that you didn't know that you could run back. You're like whenever you hit a pop fly, you just like concede, like
because I was clearly pressing the wrong button, and maybe I pressed the other, because I tried both, so I did it wrong. Because
you gotta roll it. It's like a roll. You gotta like start where they're going and roll back. It's not just hit second, because you got to tell who you're trying to take back first. So that's
what it was. Because I caused the player to stop running once, and I was like, I didn't want that to happen. So I was just like, I'm not messing with it again.
Yeah, super fun.
I just didn't take the time to figure it out.
And it's funny because that is just how they all are. So it's so funny to me. So funny.
Still good time.
Okay, well, that's RBI Baseball 2 for the Nintendo Entertainment System. And Jay.
Yeah.
Next up is Nintendo Power Issue 12. Excited about that. My second issue in my subscription timeline as a child. And you can subscribe to the pod on the platform provided by whatever dumbass company that serves up your pottery. Please rate and leave positive shit for the pod on that podcast platform of choice, or any other for that matter. The website is nyehentertainment.com/ISOH pod. You can email us directly at isohpodcast@gmail.com if you want to talk shit to us or tell us we're doing this wrong. You can follow the pod on Facebook and or Instagram and interact with us there. And the link to the YouTube gameplay videos playlists are all in the show notes as well. There's the ISOH subreddit if you want to get down on some Reddit. And the Instagram handle is actually ISOH pod as well. And we don't have a Patreon, but if you'd like giving money to things podcasters tell you to, and would like to do so at our direction, the Able Gamers Foundation creates custom gaming rigs for gamers with disabilities. And that is cool as fuck. ablegamers.org is where you can find them. Jay, what are your socials?
Gentleman JB without the second E. That's my gamer tag. That's where you can find me on the socials when I'm posting.
I am on Instagram at MyShiftKeyIsBroke. I'm on Twitter at Josh Folan. My gamer tag is 2Minute Todd, and I hit a 360-foot dinger with Cory Snyder against Jay in head-to-head RBI Baseball 2. Okay, bye.
Goodbye.
Word. Well, on the economic analysis front, we already did that baseball stadium hot dog math in the Fester's Quest app. Well, let's just start all over again clean here.